Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. As always, this is Dragnacarta, your host and DM, and we just want to be very glad to welcome you back to the misty and horrific land of Barovia once more. Now, I don't think we have too much to go through today. We do have one small somber announcement, which is that our dear friend Linus, player of Amity, is out today, so sadly he will not be here for this episode, but hopefully we'll be back soon for our next session. Otherwise, I think that's all we've got for the moment. Otherwise, I think we're all ready to dive right in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's die, kids.
It's a beautiful day to die.
It is.
It's always a beautiful day to die in Barovia. The only question is whether death sticks, or at least what your experience is with it.
Melissa?
No comment.
No comment is at all. All right, well, again, thank you everyone for joining us, and let's get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. And welcome back, everyone. So, last we left off on Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. Following a tense encounter and invitation from Strahd in Vallaki, our companions made their way to the Vistani and Duskelf encampment just outside of the settlement's walls. There they regrouped with the Duskelf leader Casimir, who again shared with them his desire to ascend the slopes of Mount Ghakis to an ancient structure that lay there, the Ember Temple, which he believed held secrets not only to the key of resurrection magic for his own purposes in his quest to resurrect his deceased sister Petrina, but also may contain ancient secrets that hold the key to Strahd's origins and perhaps destruction. From there, our party divided, some venturing to Vallaki to obtain cold weather clothing for the long trek of the slopes of Mount Ghakis, doing so with some magical enchantment and the promises of generous advertising promotion. Meanwhile, others transported Viktor Volakovich, Casimir's current and temporary ward, to Van Richten's tower on the shores of Lake Baratok, there where he could remain safe and secured away from the watchful eyes of Baroness Fiona Voctor's servants, as well as any potential monsters of Strahd that may patrol the woods nearby. After regrouping completely at the old tower by Lake Baratok, the group prepared themselves to ascend the mountain, Esmeralda retrieving her wagon and the others taking a final glimpse down the old Svalich road as they prepared to ascend Solenka Pass, the winding gravel road that winds its way up the slopes of Mount Ghakis, ascending to the peak there. Then they set off, ascending the mountain toward the dark structure that lays there at the top. Several miles and hours passed before they arrived at the outskirts of the gatehouse that guarded the bridge through Solenka Pass over the Luna River below. Upon arriving, Casimir pointed out several sentries that guarded the walls, but with Erthrindir's assistance, the group was able to dispel the curtain of magical flame that obstructed their path ahead and pass through the gatehouse, seeing before them the bridge that crossed the ravine to the upper portions of the mountain spur, and a watchtower just off to the side overlooking the cliff and the foggy sea that plunged away below the side of the mountain. They took shelter there for the night, with Kiva and Ismark obtaining firewood as Lillison and Metreon explored the interior of the space. That evening, as several members began their trances or rests for the night as they prepared themselves to venture up to the Amber Temple and its dark, forbidden lore the following morning, Lillison ventured outside, there preparing her next parchment report to Strahd von Zarevich as part of their bargain, and there receiving a response to her request of a gift of knowledge, obtaining within it the note that reads, "You may include, with your next correspondence, a single question. That question," Strahd promised, he would answer truthfully, so long as neither the question nor the answer impugned the honor of his house. And so, as the night sky overhead grows darker, dusk fading away into the darkness of night, you see the clouds overhead swirling faintly, the snow continuing to pelt the sides of the mountain cliff. You hear the whispering, then howling gale of the wind, freezing, chilling, cutting through to the bone, even just barely past the padded cold weather clothing that you now wear. Lillison, you can hear your feet crunching through the snow as you pass through, slowly making your way back to the old guard tower, though, strangely enough, but now familiarly, the cold does not bother you near as much as it once did. In fact, it feels almost welcoming, comforting. You find yourself standing just outside of the front door to the watchtower, the scroll that you obtained still clenched in your fist. Would you like to enter the watchtower and join the others?
Lillison will securely put the scroll away before rejoining the others, yes.
All right. You tuck it away and open the door. It squeals open with a creak. Evidently, it's been, as you're reminded, some time since this door to the watchtower has last been used. Entering within the space, you find on the inside a smaller, cheerier enclosure, and as you close the door behind you, cutting off the screaming gale outside, you can still hear its howls through the windows and the edges of the chamber and from the upper floors of the tower, but in here you can hear the sound of the fire in the hearth flickering and crackling, embers spilling throughout the room. You can see several of your compatriots strewn throughout the interior, some preparing bedrolls, others partaking in a small evening meal, all of them evidently steeling themselves for the night to come and the journey ahead. What's everyone doing?
Well, having gathered my gold shavings, kind of come back down to the level with the others and start to prepare my bedroll, I guess. I guess I don't actually have a bedroll. So yeah, I guess I would just be finding a corner to nap in.
Ari is so thoroughly, engulfed by a woolen blanket that you can only see the tip of his nose poking out as he cocks his head towards Lillison. Get what you wanted?
Sorry, what was that?
Apologies. He pulls off the hood. Did you get what you wanted out there?
I mean, I delivered what I had to.
Suppose that's good enough. Come on, let's settle down. We got a long day tomorrow.
Lillison nods and kind of settles down in a corner by herself, looking around at everybody else.
Question, just because I don't remember. Did we collect firewood at all?
We did,
Yes,
last session.
Ismark and Kiva got it for you, using the Esmeralda's battle axe.
Oh, that's
which is
right,
not
that's
really
right.
made for cutting wood, more cutting limbs, but in this case it sufficed.
That worked out. Well, cut limbs of a sword. Yeah, so Metreon will get up from his corner, realizing that he's still freezing, and he will throw a couple fire bolts in there just to try and get everything warmed up, and then realizing that that's the warmest spot in this watchtower, will cuddle up next to the fireplace, like Cinderella.
Yep. Erthrindir at some point, before drifting off into a trance, looks over at him and reaches into his bag, pulling out his cloak. Here, it's not a great blanket, but it's something. I presume you'd rather not exchange body heat.
I'm sorry, we're talking to Metreon or Lillison?
Metreon.
I mean, and he looks over to Ismark. Maybe. Just give it to me. And he snatched it. Kiva, why don't we just all huddle together, maybe back to back, just keep each other warm, and also it's good for watching,
That does sound sensible.
Spoon with each other? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, opposite this time. I promise next time we'll all just get in a big old spoony line. But no, I meant just like sitting upright, back to back. Just looking out, making sure that we've got our perimeter checked out, whatever you call it.
Kiva nods and gives you like a sort of military tight salute and just scoots up back to you.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Before they settle down, Aerith will place an alarm spell on the front door, the space outside the window, and the top of the tower. And then we'll settle down to sleep.
Lillison is just, watching this whole cuddle logistics with, a faint expression of distaste, and sticks very firmly to her corner. She pulls out her knitting and starts working on it.
Metreon glares, noticing that she's just knitting without gloves on.
Just to confirm, are you guys taking your normal watches?
Yeah, we're taking the normal watches that we take in the tower.
Alright, so in that case, if you're all settling in for a long rest, I'll need Metreon and Erthrindir to make perception checks, please.
Alrighty.
As the first 2 hours go by and you settle in, some of you turning in for the night and sleeping, Kiva beginning her trance.
That's a 15.
That's an 18.
Okay. The two of you keep an eye sharply on the windows looking out over the fog beyond the cliffside, and occasionally crack the door, or make your way to the second floor to peer through the windows out to the snowy expanse. In the distance, you can just faintly see the large statues over top of the arches that guard either side of the bridge, shrouded in swirling mist and snow. You can see the dark silhouettes of the trees, like hunched-over cloaked figures watching you silently from beside the slopes of Mount Ghakis beside. As you look out through the darkness, you can see very occasionally what seems to be the snow forming small faces that look toward you, watching silently, balefully through the mist, but then they wisp away, and you're left with a cold, uncomfortable feeling, a shiver down your spine. Was that really a face, or was it just the wind and the sound and the snow whirling through your head? There's a pause, and then Metreon, your ears perk up and you think you hear the sound of crunching snow from distantly, and then slowly, coming around the bend, just beneath one of the trees to the northwest, you see a small shape, low to the ground, step forward toward the tower and seat itself several dozen yards away, just watching silently in the cold. Seems not to be a humanoid silhouette.
From this distance, would I be able to shoot like a Eldritch Blast or a Firebolt at it?
What's your range on those?
Eldritch Blast is 120 feet, and then Firebolt is the same.
All right, I would say that you can just hit it from here, yes.
Okay.
If you want, you can roll to hit.
Yeah, just set this up. Hold on. 14.
14. All right. The bolt of crackling eldritch energy, shimmering with a silvery light, speeds through the air and smashes into the dark shadow right there. I'm dealing how much damage?
5, but I have a second blast.
All right, go for it.
13.
13. Let me just check something real quick. Yes, that one hits as well. Slamming to the side of it, you hear a very distant whimper. How much damage is that?
9.
9. The whimper cuts out abruptly, and then the silhouette falls over onto the side, slumped into just this indistinct dark pile.
So it looks kind of like wolf-like, or?
You would have had an 18 perception?
Yes.
I would say from this distance, it's a bit hard to tell, but it definitely has some canine resemblance, so you would think it might probably be a wolf based on the size.
Boy, Randy.
Oh, what is it?
And he'll kind of tilt himself out of the window and point in the direction of the silhouette of the creature he just killed.
Aerith squints at it through the snow. Damn, nice shot.
Yeah, well, I think it's a wolf. Should we do something about it?
I mean, if it's dead, it's dead.
Yeah, I mean, how's it on rations, though?
That I don't know. I wouldn't think it would survive that well up here. I guess we should just keep our eyes out to see if there's any more.
Well, fair enough. I mean, it's cold up here. Figure maybe we save it for later. But no, you're right. What am I talking about? Eating wolves now. Who am I?
I don't know, but I like him.
What is survival shit? And he starts to come back in from the cold and starts kind of pacing around the room.
Aerith carefully shuts the window. I mean, I'm not great at it, but there's nothing to be ashamed of learning to survive in the wilderness. Like, it's a useful skill set.
Yeah, but I mean, I built up an entire existence of not having to be in the wilderness. I'm a city boy.
Same, but I found that... Okay, yeah, point taken.
Yeah, but you got those Ghakis with all the pockets,
Yeah, and I was pretty shit with them, if you hadn't noticed. 40-odd years living in the wilderness didn't do much for me, besides give me a cute appreciation of how much I hated it. So, learn the skills, survive, so you and I can both get back to the city.
Well, I think it's shift change.
I'm sorry? I don't understand. I mean, I get what you're saying, though. Just kind of another way this place has changed us. But I wouldn't say this one's for the worse.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. I'm just getting tired,
No, me too. I don't want to be here anymore.
I was just gonna say, let's wake him up. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm cold. I'd like to get by the fire.
Yeah, Aerith will wake up the next round of watches.
All right, so Earthrendir is continuing just because of the trancing. Amity is next up. Twy, do you want to roll for Amity as well?
Oh, that's right. He doesn't.
For
sleep.
sure. That is a 3 for Amity. And a 16 for Earthrendir.
All right. Your watch passes largely uneventfully. Yourself and Amity just huddling by the fire and occasionally looking out of the windows, doing your best to keep an eye on anything that might go by. The hours come to a close, and you awaken the next on watch. I believe this would be Lilith and Kiva.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go get this bread.
All right, if the two of you would not mind making perception checks.
That is a 24 on perception.
21.
All right. The first hour passes by uneventfully as you imagine it. The second hour, however, as it begins, you find yourselves, or Kiva at least, huddling from the cold, Lilith seeming unperturbed by it. But there's as you're looking away from the window, you hear at the distance a deep, piercing rumble that echoes through the sky. And it takes you a moment to realize that it's not an earthquake, it's not an avalanche, but it seems to be some deep cry that echoes through the mountaintops.
Kiva will turn to Lillison and just say, wait here. And then she will use the sun sword as a lantern and go outside and just take a look. But she's got it on like the dimmest setting.
All right, make a
Just
perception
turn the
check.
dimmer down.
Make a perception check with disadvantage, please, due to the fog and the darkness.
10.
10. Okay. Looking outside, you squint and do your best to look into the darkness. The swirling snow makes it difficult to see even 10, 15 feet in front of your face. You can just barely see the whispering, gently shuddering outlines of the trees from which you harvested the firewood before. You don't hear anything for a moment, just the screaming of the wind, and then far away in the distance, again, further away this time. And from, strangely enough, further up the mountain, you can't tell quite how far. Looking up, you can see that it vanishes from the peaks into the clouds, but you hear a low, deep, piercing cry that echoes through the peaks like a foghorn, and then, just ever faintly, just after that, the distant sound of great wind beats that then vanish into the sound of the gale and snow.
Kiva will stand outside for just a few more minutes, sort of like counting, the seconds in between thunder and lightning just to see if it gets any farther away. And then we'll go inside and report back to Lillison that whatever it is seems to be going in the opposite direction from us. But unless avalanches can travel up mountains, I think we have something very large nearby to keep an eye on.
Ah, I see. We should probably ask Casimir about this in the morning.
Do you think he's likely to be honest with us?
In regards to this, I think if it is a danger, he needs to be.
She gives Lillison a little smirk and then nods and settles back in to finish her portion of the watch.
Okay. And the remainder of your watch does in fact come to an uneventful close. As Lillison returns to her bed, Esmeralda will wake and join you for the final watch. If you don't mind making one more perception check, as Esmeralda does as well.
That's a 12. She's distracted.
Your final watch passes uneventfully, and slowly the snow somewhat subsides, though it continues on. Not quite to the levels of a blizzard, but still the wind shrieking fiercely as the dark, then gray, then slowly white snow. As the daylight slowly emerges, the fading grays and ashen-colored lights that emerge over the mountaintops in the distance, peeking over the valley below. Slowly, morning comes to Barovia, and around you, your compatriots begin to come to consciousness as a new day begins. All of you awaken. As you look around, you can see the fire nearly having died down, the firewood nearly depleted, but still burning a merry cherry red in the hearth. As each of you slowly blinks awake, you can see Ismark slowly sharpening the edge of his blade as he awakens in a corner, speaking in hushed tones to Irina. Casimir sitting by himself, just off to the side of the flames, his nose buried in a large leather-bound tome. Outside, you can hear the shrieking wind and just see the faint gray light seeping in through the ancient, dirt-crusted windows. The morning is yours. What would you like to do?
Kiva's gonna sidle on up to Casimir, and, try not to interrupt him from his reading, but also interrupt him from his reading.
Casimir takes a moment and then blinks and looks up at you. Good morning, Miss Kiva. I trust you rested well, I hope.
Oh, I don't really get sleep, so, but you know that. So it was as uneventful as it could be. I did have a question for you, though.
Of course. What do you have?
Do you know of any great giant sounding monsters that scream in the middle of the night and maybe like travel up a mountain?
He frowns. I'm assuming this is something you spotted or heard in the middle of the night on watch?
Yeah, I thought maybe it was an avalanche at first, but then it started getting farther away and higher up the mountain, so I'm assuming it can fly or run very fast.
Interesting. Out of curiosity, if you heard the cry, did you hear the sound of wings? Anything like that?
It sounded like it. Either that or an intense and weird sounding windstorm.
He nods and scratches his chin. Well then, reckon it might have been for the best that we found shelter for the evening. It sounds like you've had just an encounter with the rock of Mount Ghakis.
The what?
I believe I might have mentioned it before our ascent. The rock of Mount Ghakis. It's not quite a guardian of the place, but it's made its nest upon the peak. Preys quite often on fish from Lake Luna. I've heard it to take the occasional livestock, however, and, well, travelers wandering these slopes ought to do best, I imagine, to steer clear of its attentions. It's a lonely creature. It's probably why you heard it calling. I can't imagine how many centuries, millennia it's lurked on this mountaintop. But, if it didn't come close to you, I reckon that there's not to worry about for the moment. Hopefully, at the very least, if you heard it out last night, it's gotten some food in its belly, and it might not trouble us as we make our further ascent.
Is this something that we have to worry about in the day or only at night?
That I cannot say. I've encountered it from afar once or twice myself. Seen it once. Thankfully, seemed to be leagues away at the time, but I would keep an eye and ear open. I'm sadly not a zoologist, but any time that we can avoid the attentions of a rock, those things, well, I'm sure that judging by what you heard, you would not be surprised if I informed you that rocks can reach the sizes of entire castle keeps in adulthood. I think we'd prefer not to encounter such a thing on our journey up the mountain.
I sometimes think that this place is not going to get any more horrible, and every time I am surprised. Do you think it is something that could be fooled by illusory magic?
Oh, well, I certainly hope so. I imagine that, given its avian nature, it's possible its visual perceptions might be quite sharp, but if we can manage to fool that acuity with some kind of illusory magic, escape its side perceptions for a moment, I should, well, he ponders for a moment, and let me just make a quick Arcana check for him. That is pretty good. Let's take a look at something here. Alright, he nods. Well, if nothing else, it's a monstrous beast, but a beast nonetheless. If we have some means of fooling it, as long as it can get through its senses, I imagine we should be better off. I doubt it would investigate too intelligently.
Well, that sounds like our magicians should start practicing making their illusory cows then.
Not a bad idea.
She'll get up and give him a nod and leave him to his reading.
Alright, he returns to his reading. Is there anything else that the rest of you would like to do while preparing for the morning?
Yeah.
Metron is actually going to try his best to stretch, though he feels like his body is completely frozen. But he does want to go out and check to see if the corpse of whatever creature he killed is still outside.
Go forth and look for it.
I will do that. Do you want me to make a perception check, or?
Make a perception check. And while you're doing that, Kiva, and Lillison. Looking around the room, you notice that Erthrendir does not quite seem to have awoken yet. His eyes closed, still in the midst of his trance. Amity actually just asleep beside him, one hand on his leg. Erthrendir,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah?
you think in the distance, in the midst of your trance, in your meditation, you could just faintly feel the outside world. Trances for elves are funny things, meditative states that leave one halfway caught between the twilight of waking and dream. But as around you, you can just faintly feel the movement of light and life around you. You feel, semi-consciously, Amity's hand upon your side, and as you feel your elven trance slipping away from you, you feel yourself drawing forth to the surface of wakefulness once again, and then slipping away, darkening, feeling Amity's warmth pressed against your side, and slowly the trance fades, and you find yourself falling down into darkness. You open your eyes and find yourself standing in a dark stone corridor. Around you, you see small icicles hanging from the ceiling. As you exhale, your breath freezes into a chill, wisping mist. Just beside you, you see Amity, staring straight ahead, her entire body stock still, unmoving and unresponsive. Her hand is clasped in yours. She faces ahead, at the other end of the corridor, where you can see a faint, flickering, chill blue light.
Aerith, like, jerks his hand away, suddenly just panicking. What the? He looks over at Amity. Darlin, where are we? What the? What's going on?
She doesn't respond. You can see that she's breathing, but her gaze is pointed stonily forward, toward the flickering blue light.
Definitely panicking now. Aerith scrambles, and soon he's got his wand in one hand and his short sword in the other, shaking slightly. And he takes a tentative step forward towards the light.
You step forward, your hand slipping away from Amity's warm one, and you feel the cold come all around you. You find yourself shivering. Strangely enough, it doesn't seem to be only the air around you, for as you step forward toward the chill blue light, you can see, or you can feel the temperature plummeting several degrees with each step forward you take. As you grow closer toward the other end of the corridor, you can see that flickering cerulean light slowly consolidating into a solid shape. A staff, forged of ice. Its upper end, a crystalline lattice structure of frost and shards of cold. Its lower end, sharp like a wicked icicle, planted in the ground, standing up at a slightly off-ended angle. Around its base, you can see, just faintly, curled around it protectively, a small circle of bones, arm and finger bones, just curled around it almost like a protective sentry or a nest or a mount. You see from the floor, faintly, tendrils of mist swirling, wisping through the air, beckoning you forward. And as you step forward, you feel welling up within you a deep compulsion to step closer to the staff, to observe it more closely.
Indeed, he does. His steps almost unconscious as he circles this thing, marveling at the engineering and giving a little shudder, seeing the bones grasping onto it desperately. He reaches out slowly and tentatively grabs it in his hand.
As you do so, reaching toward it, you pause for a moment, some flicker of the back of your mind urge against it. feeling a sense of wrongness. All of the conversations that you've had with Lillison about the compulsions of magic, you feel flashes of the horrors witnessed in Offstra. There's a part of you at the corner of your soul screaming at the compulsion you feel layered upon your mind, and then it's shut down, pushed away into a tiny corner. You can still hear it ever faintly in the back of your mind, with the thud-thud, the thumping of your heart. A small part of you begging, pleading not to step any further. But as your hand hovers there for a moment, you hear a hoarse male voice whispering to you, "Take it then, and inherit my legacy." Your fingers close around the staff. Slowly, you remove it from its plinth with a clink, the ice shimmering with the brilliant blue light. You turn it over in your hands for a moment, admiring its beauty as it shimmers with that almost ethereal majesty. You feel power, sharp, jolting, chilling, like ice biting and chewing inside of your flesh, but it surges toward you, waking you up like a cold bath on a warm day. You feel yourself sliding, descending into this chill, liquid awareness. You still hear that voice inside of you screaming, "No, don't take another step. Put it down. It's not too late." And then you hear a soft sigh of satisfaction as slowly the staff begins to move. At first it's strange, like a bend in the air, like a refraction of the light. And you see that it's not just bending, it's contorting, slowly twisting as it writhes and wiggles in your grip, no longer rigid but supple, like something living. Warm with a chill beyond what you could have known. And then it turns toward you and you see that the staff is no longer a staff, but a serpent forged of ice. Its eyes deep cold like onyx, purplish scales running down its serpentine length. It opens its mouth wide toward your face, yourself powerless to resist as its eyes stare into yours, its icicle fangs opening wide. And then, with a twist, a contortion of its body, it lashes toward your neck, its fangs seeping deep into your skin. You're frozen on the spot, unable to move or react. You feel the chill, the frostbite seeping into your blood, rushing through your veins as they turn into ice, and then, slowly, it begins to twist deeper and deeper, tearing away at the flesh and wriggling beneath the skin. You see a bulge beneath the shoulder flesh as this frost-like serpent begins to burrow into your body. You feel it pushing through your torso and chest. You feel your heart thumping and then slowly begin to slow as the ice serpent coils around it. Its length slowly bundling around your heart. You hear the voice in the back of your mind screaming against the pulse and slowly begin to fade as with each coil the snake wraps around your heart. It grows colder, slower, quieter. And then as you feel the blood in your veins turn entirely to ice, you feel a surge of strength through your body, a spark in your mind, and a cold confidence fall over you. And as your heart freezes entirely, the screaming voice is no more. You're not sure what it was, if anything. It was surely nothing important, no part of you that you truly needed. And in the distance, no, closer than before, in your ear once more, you hear the voice again, laughing softly, as it whispers, "The work begins." And with a shuddering gasp, you awaken.
And Erthrendir wakes up screaming. He's twisted. He's so twisted in the woolen blanket, he can't even get out of it. But you see him struggling, rolling across the floor as he desperately claws his way out of the confines, nearly kicking Amity as he does, until finally he extricates himself from it and bolts upright, one in his hand, sweeping it from one side of the room to the other.
Lillison jerks as Erthrendir screams and just watches him for a minute. she has reflexively cast Mage Hand, like, halfway between them, but falters and it just waits.
Slowly, the one lowers, and you can see tear tracks on his face. What the hell? What was that?
Why don't you tell us? And Kiva sort of like lowers her hands down from the defensive posture that she was in, just to, see if he's okay or if there's something to worry about.
He slowly untenses. I don't know. It was like some sort of prophetic vision or something. Like the only thing I can remember like it was what happened after I ate that pie like a few weeks ago. Was that a dream? Is that what? I don't. Okay. He takes a long breath, shuddering. I was somewhere with Amdy, and she wasn't responding, and I was freaking out, so I tried to figure out what was going on. I found this staff, I think, just a big pillar of solid ice. And I didn't want to do anything with it. I wanted to get away, but I couldn't stop myself. I just kept walking forward, and then I grabbed onto it, and then it bit into my heart, and I couldn't do anything. And he just cuts off.
Kiva looks over sharply at Casimir, like, can you explain this, Magic Man?
Casimir's eyes are wide, shaking his head. I can't say I've ever heard of such a thing. I mean, dreams are not always what they were in Peruvia. I know that I've experienced my unexpected fair share myself, even despite my physiology, but this sounds far more symbolic than many I've encountered. And at that you hear Esmeralda clearing her throat. I can't help but wonder. And she gives Amity a lingering look. I've heard of seers, oracles that are so powerful that the influence, the psychic energies of their visions can seep out to those that they are in close emotional proximity to. Could it be perhaps that Amity has allowed you a window into what she sees? And Amity shakes her head. I don't know. I didn't have any dreams last night. I mean, I thought I saw something like Athenry was describing, but it was foggy, and I couldn't move during it. It was strange. But do you mean that Athenry saw my dream? Esmeralda just shrugs and looks back toward Erthrindir thoughtfully.
Aerith at this point is just sat down heavily in the corner, just staring at his hands, and pulls up his shirt as if looking for the bite mark where the snake sunk its teeth in. I'm okay, right? I didn't do anything, or right?
Not I noticed.
Lillison moves her skeletal mage hand over to sit hopefully reassuringly on Erthrindir's shoulder, and its fingertips pat his shoulder a little bit.
He jerks in surprise, and then seeing it, relaxes a tiny bit. Okay, it was just Amity passed along one of her prophetic dreams, then that's fine. I've told her 100 times that they aren't necessarily going to come true. I can believe that myself. All right, gang. Why don't we get going? Sounds like a good idea.
Does it, really?
No. I I couldn't stop myself. I haven't felt like that in a... God damn it. And he rubs at his eyes, trying very hard not to cry. Let's just go. I don't want to be here any longer. Can we just move?
No, I think we need to figure out what the warning is.
No, we
rush
don't.
more headlong into it.
Can't. Earthrendir's just staring at her, his eyes hard. Well, I don't think we have the context to do that, and if you'll forgive me if I don't want to relive this anymore. Can we just eat breakfast and leave? Please.
Lilison gives him a look. It's a bit laced with contempt, but her mage hand pats his shoulder comfortingly a few more times, and she pulls out a dry ration from her pack and settles her pack on her shoulders briskly.
Great. Let's go. I'll get my stuff together. And he heads to the corner of the room and starts frantically re-rolling his bedroll and haphazardly shoving his stuff into his pack.
Okay. Is there anything anyone else would like to do before setting off?
Just wanted to follow up on that wolf corpse.
Yes. What was your perception check? Like 20 minutes
17.
ago? 17. You look around and you find a spot, a slight indentation, evidently where something once lay near to the base of one of the evergreens. And it's been filled in somewhat by the snow, but not enough that you can't tell that something wolf-sized was here. But there's no sign of it any longer.
Does it look like it was dragged out or picked up?
What was your perception? 17?
Yes.
Looking around, actually, this would be a survival check.
Okay. Well, I'm great at those. 16.
16. Looking around, you do find a place where the corpse does appear to have been dragged away, just around the base of the trees, off to the side of the cliffs, and then vanishing down to a lower ledge and out of sight.
Okay, so it doesn't look like it was picked up by a giant bird. Okay. Yeah, and I guess I'll linger there for a moment, just looking over the spot, letting the snow fall onto me in the spot where the wolf's body was. But I figure when I hear that scream, I'll rush back. And as everyone's kind of getting ready, I'll burst in. Oh, I heard a scream. All right.
Kiva just gives Metreon a look and sort of like flicks her eyes over to Earthrendir as he's packing, but doesn't say anything, sort of in like a I'll talk to you later way.
All right, so then we's setting out then? Randy?
What?
Metron just kind of hangs in the doorway a bit, looking at Randy, looking over him as he's gathering his things. I assume he's gathering kind of like hastily and not necessarily.
Yeah, you know how some folks on camping trips, when they're putting away the tent, some folks manage to fold it and everyone else just pushes it haphazardly into the bag? That's what he's doing with his sleeping bag.
Okay, got it.
What?
Oh, no. You're usually just more fastidious about putting your bedroll and stuff together well. And I heard a scream, so I came running back. But everything's okay then?
He pauses, shoving his bedroll into his pack, and then kind of sighs. No. I had one of Amity's dreams got passed along to me somehow, and it was a really, really bad one. There was some sort of evil staff and a voice, and I couldn't. He clams up for a moment, and then kind of looking at Metreon, his voice is quieter. It's, you know, the feeling when somebody's getting their tenterhooks into your mind and twisting. It was like that. Like there was a part of me in my head that was screaming as loud as I could, but rest of me couldn't do anything about it, as I was just forced to pick this thing up and let it do what it wanted with me.
Oh, that's a trip.
Yeah, sure is. So,
There's a burning sensation joke I'd like to make, but it's just too damn cold. Yeah.
Earth actually laughs at this.
Maybe we should. It's got to be tied to that place we're going. Oi, and Metron points down at Casimir. What we getting into here? You said you ain't been up there, but you've been up here. Is that right?
Been up where? Sorry, you'll have to be more specific.
Well, I mean, you ain't been to the temple proper, have you?
No, I have on a few occasions. I've managed to make it far as the front entryway and a side entrance, but I haven't managed to delve much further than that due to the, I don't know if they're inhabitants or mechanisms that linger there, but I haven't been able to delve quite as far as I would have liked. I can point out more of the architecture too when we arrive. We'll have a few options for planning our entry into the structure, so.
I'm just going to say out loud, I feel like you're leading us to our death, but we also
I certainly hope not. I dearly appreciate your help. I've been making every effort to uncover this place's secrets and see what we can do with it for a long time, but without you, none of this would be possible. Believe me, I have absolutely no intention, especially because I value what you're working to do. Like I said, so long as the devil in Ravenloft continues his reign, I don't believe any of us can find peace. So believe me when I say that I bear you no ill intent.
Yeah.
Insight check.
Yeah.
By all means, make an insight check.
Ooh, that's a lovely 4 on my part.
14.
14. Metron, he's hard to read. Elves in general are difficult, and Casimir just eternally wears that hooded cloak, so you can't really get a good sense of his body language beneath it. Kiva, looking over him, he seems to be, looking at you levelly. He seems, his eyes kind of open wide, and his, eyebrows go up, and what seems like a genuine expression of hurt. That's a suggestion that he might abandon you in some way. You're not getting bad vibes.
Kiva just nods, but makes sure that she gives him the look that, like, if you fuck us, I will personally kill you myself. But lets it go.
He seems to get the message and just gives you a very slow, respectful nod before turning back.
Okay, good.
Right then. So, I fancy everyone's ready to set off on the trail again. We've got the second half of Solanka Pass to make our way up.
Yeah, please, let's go.
All right. And he picks up his heavy tome, kind of packs it away and tucks it away into his satchel. Fiddles with the ring on his finger for a moment, and then nods and joins the group as you prepare to make your way out. Okay. So,
just quickly as
yes.
we're heading out, Metron, as we're heading out of the watchtower, will just slap his hand on Casimir's shoulder. We all go in as one, we come out as one, and you make sure that you help us get there, right? And just kind of slaps him on the back and then keeps walking away.
He gives you a grunt at the slap, but then nods and just murmurs, "Of course, I thought that was always the plan." And continues after you, shaking his head. All right, you make your way out into the snow once more. You can hear your boots crunching through the new layer of frosty white that has been deposited on the cliffside and over the night. Moving forward, you begin passing northwest along the winding trail that passes beyond the watchtower, leaving the gatehouse behind. You can see the evergreen trees that Kiva and Ismark previously trimmed and the place where the wolf corpse once lay. As slowly, the snowy pass comes to a gorge spanned by a stone bridge. At each end of the bridge is a 30-foot tall, 30-foot wide stone arch. And atop each one are two statues of armored knights on horseback with lances charging toward one another. The wind bites and howls like wolves as it passes through the gorge. Looking just faintly over the side of the gorge, hundreds of feet below, you can just faintly see a small silver-blue thread winding its way through the ravine, barely visible through the fog.
Can we make perception checks just to see if we're being followed or...
By all means, make a perception check.
12.
13.
24.
You look around looking for any sight of any individuals or creatures following you. You don't notice anything out of the ordinary.
Guess you scared those wolves off.
Kiva's just seeing into the ethereal plane with that 24.
Beautiful. All right, well, would you like to continue across the bridge?
Please. Aerith will take the lead. He is eager to get out of here.
Okay, very good. Well, stepping ahead, you can pass through the western arch. You can see on either side empty guard posts, small, dark, cold chambers, empty of anything, the elements screaming outside of them. You can see small snowdrifts that have accumulated on the ground over the course of hours, days, months, you're not sure. It seems this place has been left alone for quite some time. However, as you step forward on the other side of the gatehouse, looking across the bridge, you can see that the low walls that enclose the stone bridge have fallen away in a couple of places, but the bridge appears intact. However, you do see something else that you hadn't noticed before. A black-cloaked rider on a charcoal-colored horse guards the middle of the bridge. It stands there silently, its face covered and cowled, patiently, watchfully.
Aerith holds up his fist behind him in the universal symbol of halt. There's someone waiting for us. Can't tell who beneath the cloak.
You think they're waiting for us just on their way up there?
I think I would be very surprised if they didn't have something to do with us. They're just standing on the bridge.
I know, I was just being hopeful.
I appreciate it. Hail! We're travelers. We mean you no ill. We'll go on our way and you go on yours. How does that sound?
There's a pause for a moment, and for an instant of hesitation, the rider does not appear to acknowledge your words, and then, slowly, the head looks up toward you. It doesn't pull back the hood, but for a moment, in that swirling pit of darkness beneath the cowl, you see a flash of two crimson red eyes that burn with a hellish flame. And then, like an exhaling breath, the rider and the horse begin to grow less solid, less substantial, and disperse like ash into the wind. The last thing you see are those two burning red eyes, and then a dark cloud of ash that slowly swirls away into the screaming gale before vanishing from sight.
Earthrendeer takes a long breath before turning back to the others. Well, I think we've just encountered ghost number 5? Maybe 6. It is hard to tell. That was a warning, I think. Don't know what kind.
And here I was thinking this is going to be a cakewalk.
I have to
Well-
say, I'm really, really getting tired of these, like, prophetic warnings, and I just think, if they're just gonna kill us, just do it. I'm so tired of the runaround.
Honestly, I would prefer to just... Well, honestly, Amne's prophetics have saved our ass, but otherwise, yeah, let's kill this vampire and get somewhere where we don't have to see a warning if we're gonna slip on our toast the next day. Wow, that's not a metaphor anyone ever used. Let's move.
Yeah. I could tell the cold's getting to you.
A little bit. The earth is faintly blue. Let's go.
More blue elves. More blue elves.
Yeah, Metron's probably kind of purple at this point, so...
Wow, what
goodness.
well, he was
The
pink, I
blue
guess,
party.
Yeah, I guess we keep moving. Aerith will call
Alright.
out, watch your step. It's, no handrails.
The group passes carefully over the bridge in single file. You see Irina eyeing the crumbled low walls a little balefully, Esmeralda keeping a very sharp eye on the horizon, eyes boring onto the cliffs on either side as Davian keeps watch on the low mists that skulk below the cliff face on either side. Ismar keeps one hand on the sword hilt the entire time as you cross, but as your steps echo, crunching through the snow and atop the ancient stones mortared in place there, thankfully, you cross the bridge without incident, merging to the other side. You see on the eastern arch that covers the opposite end of the bridge, bearing two statues atop it, though one of the statues atop this arch is crumbled, leaving only the hindquarters of the horse intact. Through the small guardhouse and passing to the other side, you see that the mountain pass continues beyond. Would you like to continue up the mountain?
Yes, please.
All right. You pass forward, continuing your hike, heading forth into the snowy gale as the wind howls to the south and east of you. Far below, you could just faintly see the faint expanse of a lake. Luna Lake, you imagine from Casimir's description, far, far below the sea of fog that covers the expanse. You can just faintly see further to the south more snow-dusted evergreen trees of faintly higher elevation than the surrounding expanse, but still far, far below this cliffside trail. You pass further ahead, and it's not long before the gatehouse and bridge have vanished into the snowy fog that has descended behind you. You step forward a few times, having to veer uncomfortably close to the edge of the cliff. You can hear occasionally pebbles falling down the side of the ledge, descending as they clink and clutter down the side of the stone sheer walls and vanish into the fog and mist below. By now you're hundreds, if not perhaps 1,000 feet above the ground. It's hard to tell as the road continues winding and wending its way up the mountainside, hugging the side of the cliffs for another 3 miles. The road ahead, you can see, is cut out of the mountainside, rising steeply to one side and falling away on the other. Mist and snow greatly reduce visibility, and the howling wind cuts through you like a knife. As you step forward, continuing your trek and hike, as the road begins to veer more sharply up the incline, Esmeralda holds up a hand. Wait, I heard something.
What is it?
She pauses, closing her eyes, and then whirls. There! A shadow on the cliff! As you turn and look, following her gaze, you see, through the snow and whirling frost of the storm, a 9-foot-tall goat stands atop a crag above you, its gray fur blending perfectly with the rock of the mountainside. It lowers its head, and malice glimmers in its eyes. You hear Casimir breathe. Sangzo! Bloodhorn! And with that, you watch as it scrapes its hoof along the side of the crag and charges down the cliff toward you. I will need everyone to roll initiative, please.
Woo!
Oh, fucking
Oh, it's my favorite boy.
Christ. Can you make an encounter?
Yes, please.
No, just roll dexterity checks and tell me what you
Oh,
get.
gotcha.
Okay.
12.
12 as well.
All right. Lillison and Earthrendir.
Working on it. Sheets having a time.
Very good.
17. And Amity is 10.
Okay, very good. With that, Esmeralda, having spotted it first, is the first and foremost to react, immediately reaching to her side, pulling out the small wand that she's used on previous occasion, whipping it forward and sending a swirling bolt of flame toward it. That is a 13 to hit, which hits, swirling through the air and smashing into the massive goat's side, scorching its hide. It makes a strange noise somewhere between a whinny and a snarl, but it's picked up too much speed now. It's still barreling down the cliff toward you. She curses and leaps aside out of the way, dealing 13 damage to it. All right. With that, Casimir is up. He reaches into his side and pulls out a small, dark greenish crystal orb, murmuring over it, pulling his hands in circles and sending out a shimmering toxic green bolt of flame, rather similar to what Esmeralda did. And that is a crit to hit. Nice. All right, dealing a total of 17 damage. His firebolt scorches through the air and slams into the goat's side, throwing it off course slightly. You watch as the heat from the blast actually melts some of the snow around it, causing the surface to slip. It begins to slide its way down the rocky crag, losing its footing for a second. In that moment, Earthrendir, you have an opening. What are you going to do?
Third firebolt. Let's go. That's a 9. Why not?
All right. Unfortunately, that 9 will miss. The firebolt aiming just for where the massive goat was a moment ago and not where it's now slipped down toward. Is that your turn?
Yeah, that's him.
All right. With that, Ismark will take his turn, quickly moving to his back, taking out the heavy crossbow, loading with a bolt, taking aim and firing up toward the goat. Missing, he curses as it ricochets off the side of the wall and immediately begins to load a fresh one. Man, you guys all rolled shit initiative. So Irina has her turn next. She will take out her hand crossbow, quickly fiddling with it, her hands trembling, lift it and aim right toward the goat's head.
Come on.
With a 21 to hit, rolling 5 piercing damage, her hands trembling, she holds it true for but a moment, looses the bolt, it shrieks through the air, and then plants itself right through the goat's eye. It whinnies for a moment, screaming, and then slumps, collapsing like a puppet whose strings have been cut, and just tumbles down like a rag doll down the sides of the crag until it comes to a halt at the bottom of the cliff. Irina's breathing hard as the massive goat tumbles to the ground a few yards away from her feet. Her chest
Earthrendir looks over at her
pumping.
with no small amount of admiration. Nice shot.
Oh my god, I didn't think that I would actually hit it. Is it dead? It's dead, right?
It looks like it. And Metron goes over and kicks the head just to make sure.
It lolls to the side, its blank eyes staring up at the sky. It's massive. This thing's head is easily approaching the size of your torso. Like, there's these massive jaws open wide with very flat teeth, but the horns glinting wickedly sharp at the top of its head. Impeccably.
Is anyone going to try to scavenge something from this, or can I kick this down the mountain to make sure it doesn't come back somehow?
I mean, maybe the pelt?
Can you
Maybe
skin a
horn?
9-foot goat?
No, I ain't got no experience in it personally.
I can try, but this is well beyond my field of expertise. And also, it'd take time. Like a lot of time.
I am fine to just kick this down the mountain.
No. Yeah, good idea. We don't want
Wait.
the rock seeing it.
Well, oh yeah, good point. I was gonna say maybe it's a good message to anyone who comes up. We kicked this giant goat's ass, but
Yeah, but fresh
maybe you're
meat
right.
means that giant bird will come down.
Oh yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
All right, yeah, she's gonna like heave ho, kick it down the cliff.
Okay. It takes several of you working together to pull it. But as you do, you shove it over the side. This massive, heavy goat form, and it goes spilling over the edge of the cliff, tumbling down the mountainside before slamming 100 feet down onto a ledge far below.
Aerith dusts off his hands and looks over at Casimir. Sangzor Bloodhorn. This thing had a name?
Casimir nods, a small, shaken but real grin on his face. That's right, or at least it was named that. Had a lot of respect from the mountain folk up in these here parts. But, well, that's one legendary creature whose legend won't be continuing much longer.
Yeah,
I
I think I'm
imagine
alright
I've,
with that.
I imagine it's kind of clear to me that I've suddenly picked the right traveling companions. And he gives a nod to Esmeralda and Irina.
They're the real goats there. Get it? Kind of elbows Irina.
Irina laughs. For a moment, her mind filled with 21st century meme humor.
Flashing forward. Alright, well, let's keep moving. Unless there are more goats that want to challenge us.
Casimir nods. Well, at this Davian chuckles. I can't imagine you would have liked to face it up here alone, would you, boy? Casimir looks at him. I'm several centuries older than you, sir. Davian rolls his eyes. Well, as you were saying, I think it's clear why you needed the lot of us here. Let's see if you keep pulling your weight as well,
Kiva just
Casimir
looks
gives a
with
somewhat
such
shaky
love.
nod.
Such love at Davian. Her mean old grumpy dad.
Alright, and with that, Casimir just kind of nods and turns somewhat shakily to continue making his way up the mountain.
Yep, likewise.
Let's go.
Okay. You proceed forward beyond the ridge and crag where you met the goat and passing further upward. After another half mile of travel or so, slowly the mist and snow clear, revealing branching roads to the north and south. Casimir shoves his hands in the pockets of his thick wintry coat and nods up toward the northern branch. Right then, that one's our path to our destination. It's right up to the temple's doorstep.
What's the other?
Well, I've explored it once myself out of curiosity. But that I would not recommend going through unless you wish to die a very slow and uninteresting death. Wraps around the edge of the mountain, all the way to the borders of the fog. I don't imagine you want to continue further into those boundaries. That's the edge of the country.
Oh, wow. So it's kept up the path there, despite there being nobody coming through, thanks to the original place it went being cut off by the main. Oh, that's fascinating. I wonder why it is still prominent then, if it's not getting enough foot traffic, unless this is how some of the other folks that Strahd has drawn in has come through. I wonder if some of them came in the north, they probably were in very bad straits. But Aerith suddenly realizes let's go to the temple.
Esmeralda chuckles. I mean, I wouldn't be entirely surprised. I came from the west side after all.
You did? Oh, you did? Oh, fascinating. Oh, man, Strahd must have had a time if he brought in a few of his adventurers and they just died of hypothermia before he could get to him.
That would be unfortunate. But Nonetheless, I think that we shall continue our way up, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. As you pass forward, leaving for the crossroads, you notice just off to the side of the northern branch, perhaps a few dozen yards off, a small mound of snow, almost difficult to make out amidst the cold and ice, and especially in the distance of the mist and fog that obscure vision for more than 60 feet. But just very faintly, you see a small mound of snow, and just Lillison and Kiva just glancing aside toward it. You think you see it shifting very faintly, as though something is beneath it.
Can we just have a moment's rest?
What you need a rest for?
She just points over the shifting something and pulls out the sun sword in just preparation for something horrible to jump out or something evil to happen.
How far away is this something?
I'd say around 45 feet.
Can I try to make out any more details?
Make a perception check with disadvantage.
Oh, 14 on both.
14.
Ooh,
Squinting.
19!
19. All right, the two of you, squinting through the ice and snow, can just very faintly see. It almost seems to be the upper half of a humanoid shape in the snow. You can just faintly see perhaps where a head is beneath the mound and rounded out corners. Obviously, much broader and distorted due to the snow covering top of it, but it almost seems as though it's the upper half of someone buried in the deep, deep snow off to the side. And just faintly, you think you can see Kiva, what looks like an old, rusted stone axe, the very sharp blade of it poking up through the snow on one side of the mound.
Lillison has had quite enough of this. She starts walking towards this figure.
Yeah, Kiva will follow and have the sun sword activated and ready to kick some ass.
All right. As soon as you approach, you see immediately the figure beneath the mound twist and pull away. You see the snow falling away, and you see a humanoid figure. It's impossible to tell the gender or facial features beneath the thick layer of slush and muddy snow that covers them from head to toe. But wide-eyed, it swiftly turns and begins to flee into the distance.
How far away is it?
Around 45 feet.
All right, I'll blast it with his Eldritch Blast.
All right, make a dexterity check for initiative.
16.
You may act first.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna gather up that silvery light and throw a couple bolts at him.
Is anyone else attacking?
When we walk up on him, are we in, like, swinging distance?
You are not. You're around 45 feet away. You could dash to
Yeah.
get there if you went first. It's up
Nah, she'll just let Metreon take care of it.
I'd love to take care of it, but I only rolled a natural 1 on my second one. But I rolled an 18 on the first one.
All right, 18, the first one. It streaks through the air and just clips off to the side of the shoulder. What's the damage?
It is 4.
4. Very good. It does not seem to do
5.
very much. 5. It does not seem to do over much. The figure stumbles for a moment and then swiftly makes their way, speeding ahead, into the wisping snow and ice, where it quickly vanishes into the fog.
Wait, it went into the fog?
Not the... You're not...
Oh, okay,
near the
gotcha,
edge.
gotcha.
It's
Yeah,
just
I
normal
gotcha.
mist. Normal mist. It's just yes.
Meaningful differentiation.
Yes.
I'll take it we're not going to go after it. I mean, it ran.
Yeah, it doesn't really... I don't think that's sensible. God, how does he
Hopefully we get where we're
coordinate all
going.
this? But yeah, I'm with Kiva. Let's just get to this damn temple already.
Okay. With that, you, keeping a watchful eye on your shoulder and unable to quite remove the prickling sensation of being watched, you pass through the snowstorm, up the northern path and leaving the crossroads behind. You follow the snow-swept gravel road as it climbs the mountainside, traveling north from the pass. And soon, the road fades away under a covering of snow, but it takes you far enough to see the facade of some kind of temple carved into the sheer mountainside ahead.
Some kind of amber temple, you might say?
The front of the structure is 50 feet high and has 6 alcoves containing 20-foot tall statues. Each statue is carved from a single block of amber and depicts a faceless, hooded figure, its hands pressed together in a gesture of prayer. Between the 2 innermost statues is a 20-foot tall archway with a staircase leading down. Casimir puts one hand on the side of his pack and gives a grim nod toward the structure. There we have it. That's the first leg of our journey. I'm not sure why he's Australian now. But that concludes the first half of this episode, as we will now take our break.
Well, yeah.
Oh God, why did she...
I'm sorry, I have to.
You made me make Casimir Australian. How fucking dare you?
Look, we do it because we know what's coming in the next half.
I'm just
very
sad for
fair.
Sangzor, that's all.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to the goat of all goats.
Indeed. The goat of the Balanok Mountains, as it were.
Yep. Well, the former goat, the goat formerly known as the goat of the Balanok Mountains.
He might have goat baby somewhere. We don't know.
I hope he
It's
does.
possible. Well, in any case, thank you to all for hanging out with us. We will be back, as always, after a short 15-minute break. This week, as always, we'll have a few messages from our D&D community, and this week, a familiar fireside chat, in case you haven't seen it, and in case you'd like a refresher, with our good friend Sly Flourish about the lazy DM method of preparing your D&D sessions. So we do hope you enjoy this refresher and this quick break, and we will see you all back here soon.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features where I, your host Job Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we are talking to Sly Flourish, the author of titles such as The Lazy Dungeon Master and many other fantastic 5th edition supplements, about his lazy DM preparation method to prepare for D&D games quickly and painlessly. You're the inventor of the Lazy Dungeon Master method. What are its key components and why might someone use it?
Yeah, so the Lazy Dungeon Master idea is intended to help people run better D&D games by doing less prep. It originally started off as the idea of just helping people fit prep into their lives, in their very busy lives to begin with, and not lose anything from their game. But through a lot of experience, other people's experiences using it, what we found is that people's games actually get better when they prepare less. That's not a zero-sum game, though, so you can't say, like, well, it gets infinitely better if I do zero prep. Some prep is definitely required for most DMs. There are some DMs who go completely on their own, but most DMs have some amount of prep. So the idea behind the Lazy Dungeon Master and Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master is to prep as little as you need to run the game you need to run, and focus that prep on the things that are going to matter most to the fun of the game.
Could you quickly outline the method for someone who is unfamiliar with your past work?
Sure. So there's in Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, I have 8 steps. The 8 steps are not all inclusive. So you don't need to use all 8 if you don't need them. They're really 8 things. Like the maximum is kind of around 8, and then you can cut the ones that you don't really need. The 8 steps are: review your characters. Who are the characters and what matters to the characters in the game? Just go over them and figure out who they are. Have a strong start. start your game off with a bang, and sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively, but throw them into the middle of the action early so that you're getting your players' heads out of the real world and their heads into the world you're running. Understand what scenes might occur during your game, like have a very loose outline of like, what are the things that I think might happen in this next game. A big one is develop 10 secrets and clues. What are 10 things the characters can learn in the next session of their game? Then we have outline the locations that the characters might visit during this game. What are the set pieces? If you think about it like a play, what are the stages that you're going to have for each of the scenes of the game? What's in the backdrop? Who are the NPCs that they might meet in this game? What monsters might they fight, and what treasure might they acquire? So if you fill out that list, many people have found that they generally have enough to be able to run a session of a game with that material on hand. And the steps are designed to recognize the fact that the game can go in many different directions. So they're not tied so tightly together that you find you're stuck when the characters all jog left when you expected them to go straight ahead.
What advice would you give a dungeon master who's looking to explore or adjust your method?
I think that making the steps your own is really important. So recognizing the fact that we all have really different ways that we prepare. And while a lot of people have looked at that book and looked at the 8 steps and said, wow, this is so much easier than it was the way I was doing it before, I think it really works best when it's tailored around the DM and the kind of stuff they need. So many DMs that I've talked to have said like, oh, I really like the secrets and clues step, but I don't really use the scene step. Or I tie my monsters and my locations together. I don't have a separate set of locations and a separate set of monsters. Or I don't use the strong start. Each of my games sort of leads into the next, so I don't really have to worry about a strong start. So tailoring it for what you need is really the easiest way to kind of get involved. And then reviewing it regularly, like looking at the process. I think studying our process, and I do it, like the steps between the original Lazy Dungeon Master and Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master are very different, because after time I saw how are these things getting used? How do they work for me? And what's the reality of how I'm prepping my game now?
What are the major things to think about when using the Lazy Dungeon Master method in a pre-prepared module like Curse of Strahd?
There are certain steps that are handled for you when you're running a published adventure that you don't, so you don't need to spend as much time on them than if you're running your own adventure or your own campaign world. A couple of the big ones are, generally speaking, locations are handled for you ahead of time. So you might just jot down the name of a location, but you don't have to go hunt down for a map. You don't have to fill out the locations to make sure that there's things in rooms that the characters will figure out. So there's a lot of things you can skip there. You can generally skip the monster step because, again, the monsters are in the module, so you're in the adventure, so you know what kind of monsters you're generally going to face. You don't have to prepare those ahead of time. Treasure is the same way. NPCs is the same way. I do find that reviewing the characters, having a strong start, and having 10 secrets and clues that the characters can discover in the next game are still really useful for a published adventure. That those 3 steps in particular, I think, when I've run published adventures and when I ran Curse of Strahd, those 3 steps really helped me run a published adventure. But the other 5 steps, I didn't need quite as much.
What are the major benefits or drawbacks that the Lazy Dungeon Master method offers to Curse of Strahd specifically, due to its sandbox-like nature?
I think that Curse of Strahd, in my experience and in talking with others, Curse of Strahd runs best when it's a dynamic situation. So particularly because you have a villain who's very dynamic. Strahd doesn't just hang out at his castle, drinking wine or drinking blood, waiting for the characters to show up and fight him. He's doing things, right? And he's watching the characters and he's seeing what they're up to. And there's a lot of locations in the hardback version of Curse of Strahd, a lot of locations that are sort of outside of his view. So one feature that works well with the steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master is that it supports a dynamic campaign. It allows for a fair bit of change from session to session. So I think that there's a big advantage in following steps that help you work with a very dynamic situation. There's also a lot of really interesting lore that you would either sort of just dump on your characters all at once, or you can feed out in small bits through things like secrets and clues. That's one of the advantages that secrets and clues has, is instead of doing like massive world building, you're really just saying, what are specific things that the characters can learn? And there's a lot of really interesting things about how Strahd got there and what he's looking for and what was here before and what's going on with all the craziness in the Amber Temple. There's all these little bits that you can drop in piece by piece as the characters are exploring the adventure.
How have you successfully used the lazy dungeon master method in your own Curse of Strahd games?
In my games, the things that I really loved were, I'll give two kind of examples, and they're all both about Strahd. I really love how his opinions of the characters changes throughout the game. So he starts off by like bringing them into Barovia because he's bored and he wants to just bring in some variables into his world to just let the world change a little bit, right? Like let's bring these adventurers in here and let's drop them in and let's see what happens, right? And he starts off very curious and he watches them. One of the things I do is I always have Strahd show up in the first battle, right? He'll be like in there as a dire wolf or whatever in the background, kind of watching a bunch of wolves attack the characters just to be like, what are these guys like? And, it was really fun when one of the players figured out, oh my God, Strahd is that wolf over there, right? And we're level 1. And he's not going to kill him because he just wants to see what they can do. But throughout, I always had him sort of show up and he would he was very curious about them and he really wanted to see what they were made of. And then there's a point where he realizes, oh my God, these guys are more powerful than me. And I'm not curious about them. Now I'm afraid of them. And that's when there's like this switch in the game. And now he's throwing minions at them and he's hurling bad guys at them. And then there's a point where he's like, you know what? Maybe my best bet is to sort of get them on my side. And he invites him to dinner. And the dinner, both of my games, I had the dinner with Strahd was one of my most memorable D&D moments. And my favorite one was he invited the group there and he's explaining to them that like, look, here's the deal. You want to get out of here and I can get you out of here. I only need 2 things in return. One, you need to just leave, right? You can't, we'll call a truce. I won't send anybody after you. You don't send anybody after me. You leave. But Irina stays with me. And Irina kind of looks to the characters and she's like, if no one else has to die and all I have to do is stay with Strahd, maybe my sacrifice is worth it. And she leaves it up to the characters to decide, is it worth it? And I remember like the characters are all like, I don't know, this sounds like a pretty good deal, right? Like we're tired of this place and we're tired of fighting his guys. And like, all we have to do is say yes and it's over. And then one of the players is like, wait a minute, this is Strahd. No way, right? Like, and then it immediately turned into like the bar scene from Inglourious Bastards where like it just turns into war during dinner and vampires come pouring out of the walls and half the guests are vampires and the other half of the players. And it just turned into this massive bloodbath and Strahd is there. And he fights for a while and then he leaves, and it was just these awesome dynamic events that start off with these like cool calculated conversations that just about get the players to decide, you know what, maybe we'll agree with Strahd until they go, wait a minute, we're dealing with the devil, almost literally. No. And then the big fight ensues. So I really enjoyed that aspect of his changing character throughout. And the way that sort of fits with the Lazy Dungeon Master style is the style expects that every session is going to be changing from the next. So you're not planning out the next 5 sessions. You're only worried about the one you're going to run next. And then from what happens there, that leads to the next one, and that leads to the next one. And that worked really well in both games, in both of the campaigns I ran.
Do you have any projects you're working on that you could share with us?
I'm always working on stuff for my Patreon, patreon.com/slyflourish, and I've started adding some new sort of Lazy Dungeon Master style material over there, including one-page adventure generators. These are sort of lists of random tables around a specific type of adventure, like Seven Samurai or Jaws or Heart of Darkness, that help DMs build their own adventures quickly and easily. And then the other thing I'm putting over there are things called Sly Flourish's Uncovered Secrets, which are like one-page guidelines to help make running D&D a little bit easier. So I'm adding about one of each of those a month onto my Patreon. The other thing I'm working on is I'm working on a book now with Scott Fitzgerald Gray and James Intercasso called Fantastic Lairs. We had a Kickstarter that we ran a couple of months ago, and the Kickstarter did very well. So we're going to have 23 lairs from levels 1 to 20. These are sort of short boss focus encounters that you can drop into your D&D game anywhere that you need. And we expect that that'll be done before the end of the year.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about your Lazy Dungeon Master prep method.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten. As always, a few quick announcements as we're getting back started. Welcome and thank you to our raiders and viewers on Twitch, YouTube, and elsewhere. We love and appreciate you guys and hope you're enjoying the show. As always, thank you to our two sponsors for this campaign. First, our virtual tabletop sponsor, Foundry VTT, provider of all of your virtual tabletop needs, and our new sponsor, The Forge, which is an integrated hosting service for your Foundry virtual tabletop games. To put it simply, Foundry is a great piece of software that can help you run your games virtually for D&D, whatever system you might need. The Forge hosts a Foundry server that you can easily access, manage through a website, and it does some great work, helps cover up my really occasionally crappy internet connection, and the fact that my PC just sometimes cannot run this software. So, highly recommend, check it out. It'll help you run your games, automate a lot of cool things, and give you a lot of cool features that you may or may not see today in our games. So, check them out. Twy, give us the pitch on Twitch.
As we enter the Ember Temple, you know that we will be facing offers of great, unimaginable power. If only we'll trade something else. And you, too, may attain unimaginable power if you're willing to make a moral sacrifice. By giving some of your money to the dark power known as Amazon, you may support Twice Bitten D&D on Twitch. You receive many gifts, such as emotes, and the knowledge that you are helping this stream come to a wonderful conclusion. Thank you to all our lovely warlocks out there, and take care. Serena?
So Dragna had a fun thing and Twy had a fun thing, and I'm going to tell you that if you like what you're seeing, you can join the discussion on our very own subreddit, reddit.com/r/twicebittendnd, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/r Curse of Strahd, for all of our past sessions, fireside chats, video essays, and highlights from the stream. As always, if you have something that you want to talk about in a fireside chat, or you want to say hi, or send us some memes, or fan art, or fan fiction, what have you, you can email that to us at twicebittencos@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Twy and Serena. I think those are all the announcements that we have for today. So thank you all for sticking around. And let's dive right back into the snowy darkness of the Ember Temple. So, as Casimir turns toward you and says, "All right, we've reached our destination. Shall we discuss how to proceed?" You find yourselves facing the tall facade of the mountain-carved temple, the snow whispering and the wind screaming around you as a snowy white expanse leads forward to the end of the road and the dark, yawning portal into the entrance below.
What is there to discuss?
He nods. He pulls and kind of reaches up and pulls some of the fabric away from his neck of his current clothes, pulling away from his cloak and hood. Right then. So, as I've mentioned, there are two main entrances to the interior of the temple and a number of hazards we might face once we find ourselves inside. He gestures forward toward the main archway and the dark staircase that descends within. That there's the main entrance. Goes past what I can glean are likely a few guard posts of some kind, or they once were at least, arrow slits on either side. From there it opens up into a much wider space, too dark and too wide for me to have gleaned anything in depth. One problem, though. Whatever's in there is hostile. The last time I was here, I wasn't in there long before I awoke in a burst of flame that I narrowly escaped from with my life. Seems that if we want to risk a fireball spell to the face, it might be best... Well, if we want to avoid such a spell, it might be best to avoid that entrance.
Lillison reflexively shudders.
I mean, a fireball might not be that bad here. I could use the warmth, quite frankly.
Esmeralda holds up a hand. If there is something in there that we are not able to see, I would be more than glad to sneak in myself. I have some magics that might let me enter surreptitiously, perhaps invisibly, and take a look around. She reaches up a spell and murmurs something under her breath, and you watch as a spell of aura magic shimmers over her eyes, turning them to black sclera and flashing red irises as you recognize her casting the dark vision spell upon herself. I don't mind taking a peek around under cover of a veil.
If what we're dealing with in there is dangerous as we can come to anticipate, then I don't fancy the thought of you getting caught out in the open. You're good, but I don't think you're... You sure you can get back to us if there's wizards pelting spells at you as you try and run?
Esmeralda gives you a grin and a wink. Don't worry, Esmeralda. I can be very sneaky when I want to be. And Casimir coughs and says, that may be so, but unfortunately it won't matter one whit. You see, I had a similar idea when I first arrived here. I entered under cover of a veil of invisibility, and I ate a fireball to the face nonetheless. Whatever's guarding that entryway, veils don't matter to it.
So we find another way in.
Yeah, if we've got to deal with those things, then I prefer we deal with them on our own terms. Unfortunately. Does mean we'll have to be careful, but it's better than walking... If invisibility won't veil us, then pretty much our only option would be to go in swinging.
Oh wait, Ez, wasn't there that spell you used at Yester Hill that allowed you to view something remotely?
Esmeralda perks up. Oh yes, my clairvoyance spell. I do have it prepared. I would more than glad to take a peek inside, especially with these. And she points up to her darkened eyes with the dark vision spell still upon them, shimmering with a faint purplish black light.
Aerith raises a
I
finger.
can just take a peek inside.
Problem. Doesn't that only work on places you've seen before?
She grins and shakes her head. Not entirely. It can be a place that I've not been, but I can, as long as I can describe it within my head and understand its physical location relative to myself, I should be able to access it quite easily.
Oh, then please. Good idea,
Right,
Kiva.
then. Shall we set up camp for a few moments here in the snow while I get the materials together?
Seems sensible.
All right, then, one moment, a few minutes, please. And she settles down and clearing out, a space in the ground, melting some of the snow with firebolts, and kneeling cross-legged on the kind of gravelly, frozen soil off to the side of the path. As she does, Davian, Ismark, and Casimir take up watchful positions. Casimir watching the entrance nervously, Irina watching the mountainside as if for any sign of further mountain folk. Is there anything you would like to do while Esmeralda casts her spell?
Kiva is going to keep the sun sword on, but make it like as dim as possible again, and just sort of like tell it mentally that like, if I die here, you have to do something. You gotta do something. You gotta tell someone. You gotta do something.
The sun sword flickers in the back of your mind with a sense of solemn understanding, and then a wit of defiant confidence.
Oh.
Yep. Aerith's just flicking through the half-burnt pages of his spellbook. Nothing unique.
Okay. If that's all, then Casimir will keep an eye out as Esmeralda's spell comes to a close. And Esmeralda's eyes flash open as the small eye oracular focus in her hand flares with a dark light streaked through with golden veins, and her eyes slide over with that sheer black veil, becoming starry, inky voids. Yes, I can see it. Wow, you were not joking. This place is huge. I don't think I can see the entirety of the space. I can see... There's, I think, the edge of a balcony. As stairs leading up to it. There are smaller corridors leading up to either side. It's a strange... It's all... I cannot see the colors. It's all blacks and whites because of the spell, but... My goodness, there's so many doors leading off from it, and this... Her voice was quiet. What is that? And then she lets out a kind of a jerk and a soft, sharp gasp of breath as you see suddenly something flicker in her eyes.
What is it?
She looks around, scanning. I saw something, and then she blinks a few times, turning her head around, and then grimacing, gritting her teeth, closes her eyes, and when she opens them again, they've returned to their original black and red sclera, vision of the dark vision spell. The aura around her focus fading. Well, that was interesting.
What was it?
Interesting?
Well, I was not able to catch a full glimpse of it. Shortly after I began the spell, there was... I don't know why, my vision went entirely dark. There was just blackness all around me. I could see nothing. It was just blocking me entirely. But for those moments that I could see, there was an enormous stone statue of a figure wearing a cloak and cowl and long flowing robes. It was massive, had to be 4 stories tall. This place is a temple to something, I'm sure. Just what I don't know.
Does that ring any bells to you guys?
Casimir shakes his head. I can't say it does. I've never ventured far enough into the space to get a glimpse of what might lay beyond. Did you see any sort of creatures at all? And Esmeralda pauses, and she's going to make a perception check retroactively. I did not see anything living in there, just a statue, but the strange thing was that there should have been the faces. At least for the moments that I saw it, there was nothing but just an inky cloud of darkness. I could not see its features.
Whew. Sounds like a darkness spell. So that does support the idea that there's either someone who cast that recently, or the folks who made this were very powerful indeed. Bizarre, though, to have that on a statue.
You said it was just on the faces.
Just on the face of the large statue, yes. There were some smaller statues in the corners of the room, but they didn't seem very similar in construction. I couldn't get glimpses of them, but the big one, that had its face obscured.
That's... Why would they try and hide the face? That's weird.
She shrugs. I do not know.
I'm
But I don't see
certain,
any creatures in there.
I'm
no
certain
enemies
it
waiting
is
for us.
symbolic in some way.
Would make sense. Well then, I think that kind of answers our question then. Let's not go in through that. Kaz, you mentioned a side entrance?
He nods. There's a second entryway that we can try if we like. He points off to the side, off to the left end of the temple.
Wait,
There,
isn't
if
that
you
the
look
slow,
closely-
painful death?
Well, I don't know if I would say that. That way is a small fissure that leads into the left side of the temple, the structure. There's a small room on the other side and doors that open up into the larger chamber that Miss Davenir just saw, as well as another corridor that's further into the temple. There's just 2 things to note there. On one occasion, I have encountered mountain folk berserkers resting in that smaller entryway chamber, and in the corridor beyond it, well, I encountered some unsavory undead. I might have mentioned them a day or so ago. Flame skulls.
Flame skulls.
Cursed things they are. If we were to go up against them, we're going to have to take great care. Even if we can dispatch them, we can't kill them permanently without some form of holy water.
Shoot, the main entrances sounded more appealing than if this one's guaranteed to bring us against hostiles.
Esmeralda coughs and holds open her, kind of unzips her like wintry cloak and holds open her like leather duster. And you see on the inside strapped several vials of crystalline clear liquid. Well, if you're in need of holy water, I have half a dozen right here. So
You are
always come
prepared
so
for
prepared.
everything.
Oh my.
she bows with a flourish. I try to be.
In that case, I think that might be our best bet. We Hopefully the berserkers aren't there. If they are, Aerith shudders. We do what we gotta. And from there, we can set a tactical position to take on the flame skulls.
Casimir nods. All right then, shall we take a closer look to the crevasse and check it out?
Please?
If you
He
insist.
And together you begin making your way forward through the ice and snow. You notice Davian and Irina kind of falling back in line toward the edge of the group for a moment. You see them speaking quietly in hushed tones. And Davian looks up at the rest of the group. Right then. I think that the lot of you tend to be a bit hardy at the front, so if you don't mind, the lass and I will keep an eye on the rear. Make sure nobody's sneaking up on us.
Please. Thank you.
He nods, and his mark looks thoughtful. Right, in that case, I would not mind watching the route for you, making sure that if anything happens, that you will be well defended. He turns toward the rest of you. I trust that you will be able to make your way inside without issue.
Oh,
We will
Ismark, you know I
follow
know my
from
way
the
inside.
rear.
What's that?
We will follow up from the rear once you are able to reach the outside.
Right.
Probably should have just talked over Dragna there instead of letting that innuendo fall.
Sorry. All right. In that case, Irina, Davian, and Ismark take up the rear guard. And with that, you step forward, following Casimir's direction until you find a place where a natural fissure has opened in the mountainside west of the temple's facade, creating a gap 2 feet wide, 10 feet tall, and 15 feet deep. You see light coming from a room beyond, and as you approach, you look down first into the side of the fissure here, and you see a small pile of gristle and animal bone lying in a bloody pile against the side of the fissure. And from the inside, from the claustrophobic crack, you hear human voices there as well.
Is it a language we recognize?
Make a perception check, please.
16.
16. It sounds like very gruff, quiet common. But the accents sound very familiar to those of the berserkers that you heard at Yesterhill.
What are they saying?
You got a 16 on your perception check?
Yep.
You're pretty far away, around 15 feet away. You can hear muffled sounds, but not well enough to make out even the occasional word.
Is there a tone?
They seem quiet, relatively relaxed. There's somewhat of a distortion because of the echoing based on the framing of the fissure through the mountain, but they don't seem agitated, just conversing.
All right. Aerith looks back to the others and whispers, all right, pardon me. They don't seem to know we're here. We could conceivably get the drop on them if we wanted. If we know for certainty they're hostile, which we don't and can't. That's cheering.
I mean, it's Barovia. I'm kind of in the head mode of just thinking everything's kind of, going to be against us. But
Same, and I'd rather not be a murderer.
yeah, that's a fair point.
That being said, I don't see negotiations going well in these particular circumstances.
Should we persuade them to leave, then?
Aerith grimaces. Might be our best bet if you can manage it.
I'll try.
If not, I'll have a fireball waiting in the wings.
Lillison nods and interesting. I am looking at the text of Charm Person.
Okay.
And it does not particularly say that the humanoid that I can see within range has to be aware of me.
This is true.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. I got
Ooh.
the makings of a plan.
Ooh, and it lets you
Okay.
multicast when you upcast.
Yeah, okay. Lillison is going to kind of sidle up to, this crevasse and just try to see how close she can get to be able to tell what's going on the other side without really, showing herself.
Okay. As you do, Esmeralda taps you on the shoulder. If you're going in there, do you want a bit of obfuscation? Perhaps be a bit more difficult to see?
I think that would be very helpful, yes, thank you.
Great. She turns. Oi. What is it? Casimir, you. Do you still have that veil that you said you had last time? Casimir will sigh and shake his head. No, I told you that it wasn't successful the first time I came. Why on earth would I prepare it a second time? And his brother rolls her eyes. For goodness sake, I'm going to have to use all of my spells, aren't I?
Aerith raises a hand. Let me. And he
But of course.
Tap.
And she steps back.
Yep, he taps Lillison gently on the back with his wand, and the mist conceals her. Good luck.
And this is greater invisibility?
This is just invisibility.
Okay, so that will break if she casts a spell.
I know the hope is to let her get in there in the first place.
Alright, is Lillison okay with this? Or does she prefer greater invis?
Lillison is okay with this.
Alright, in that case, you watch as Lillison's form wisps away into invisibility.
He looks at Ez. I'd rather you save something that powerful for when things inevitably hit the fan.
Alright then. She gives a shrug and a nod. In that case, I shall defer to you and good listen here. Take it away.
Invisibly, Lillison kind of, edges up to the crevasse and just pauses outside and tries to see what she can see or hear, if anything.
Alright, make a perception check for me, please.
That will be a 9.
9. You hear basically what Aerith and Deer hear, just muffled voices. You think you hear the sound of distorted laughter, a man's laughter from the other end. This crevasse is long and narrow, and the stone twists and contorts in strange ways as to shift the sound that you're hearing. You think you just catch a faint flicker of a silhouette on the other side for a moment, and the flickering light of ember torchlight, but you can't make out anything particularly useful.
All right. The rest of you, if there is a space you can find that isn't directly visible, I'm going to see if I can make them all just leave.
Yeah, I guess we'll try to find a spot where we can do that.
Yep.
All right, that would be relatively far away. I mean, you can try to wrap yourselves underneath one of the statues nearby. You can make your way 100 yards or so away from the front of the temple and kind of conceal yourselves in the side of a cliff.
Is there maybe even a way? Is there enough snow that we could, plant ourselves face down and kind of bury ourselves?
It's
not
kind of
completely deep, but just enough to
it would
obscure us.
take a while. It'd be pretty cold, and you get the sense based on that berserker you saw earlier that they probably know to look for that kind of thing.
Okay.
Shoot. Well, I don't like being that far away.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose we could... We could dip just inside the entrance of the other side. Not go down any further, but just enough to where they can't see us.
This could be a very bad idea, but maybe I can provide a little some assistance. And Metron starts to peel his face away, and the husk removed from his body reveals the shape of one of those berserkers that we saw at Yesterhill.
Good thought. Though I imagine the accent will give you away, but
I could try as best as I can.
Then good luck. We'll be waiting. If anything goes wrong, let us know rather briskly, please.
If you hear me screaming, you'll know.
Yep.
Oh, shall we, Lou?
I suppose. Keep behind me, by quite a bit. I'm about to tell them about the fate of Sangsor. You can be, the one who corroborates my claim.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Lilison is going to start carefully and invisibly making her way inside.
Yeah, Metron will follow.
Lilison actually pauses about, a couple feet in and glances back at Metreon and says, "It's a pity that we actually did fling the corpse off the side of the mountain, I suppose."
Yeah, well, I mean, what was he going to do for the giant goat head or, even giant goat horn? I'll carry it all the way here.
No, but if we could have marked a spot on the path where it was and said, go off and look.
Well, I imagine there's enough blood there, Just tell him to look for the frozen blood pool.
Perhaps.
I mean, we was both pretty convincing, right? Between you and I, we could just, do our gift gab.
Yes, I'm hoping to come out of invisibility with a charm and see where things go from there.
Right. Well, I'm taking your lead on this. I don't. My diplomacy is decent with urban types, but not necessarily with folks from the icy boonies.
Well, it's not as if I've exactly done this before either.
Yeah, but she's just better at talking to people than I am. I'm just more charming.
I will take that as a compliment still.
Well, you ready to do this?
As soon as Dragna's PC gets back online, yeah.
What's Kiva doing?
What is Kiva doing?
Kiva's just vibing. She's like T-posing, like 6 inches off the ground. No, she's sort of behind you guys. She's not following too close. But she's gonna let you guys obviously do the sneaking, but she's ready to like sprint in should shit go south. So she's just keeping a keen eye. What's Erthrindir doing?
What is Erthrindir doing? Well, he was T-posing, but now that he has to be brought back into existence, he is, I think, flicking frantically through his spell book, trying to look for something to help this. God, gotten so muddled these days. Half of this is wizard magic, half of this is bard magic. I don't remember which is which. It's just, I really hope Lillison manages this.
Are flame skulls, are they like aberrations? Like, are they undead? What are they?
I think they're undead. They're nasty little bastards.
Hey, Lillison, just come back here for a second.
She's
What?
What?
I can cast a spell on her.
We're already doing this.
Oh, okay. Well, can she do it from a distance?
I mean, what spell
What's
is
the spell?
It's protection from evil and good.
Oh, yeah, that's touch, I think.
Yeah,
that's touch.
I was just thinking it might help her out a little bit.
Don't worry, we will have plenty of occasion to use that later.
Yeah, I think the berserkers are still alive, so.
Yeah. But yeah, no, flame skulls are undead, so your sword will be of great use. Speaking of which, how's it been treating you? You're not, like, feeling it worm its way into your mind or anything, right?
No more than it was previously, but not in a bad way. It's just,
Just that your decisions are still your own. That's the bit I'm worried about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it even... I told this to Lillison, but I was worried that it was mad at me when I tried to show it off to Strahd. So, definitely two people operating the same. Well, not people, but you get what I'm saying.
I think you can call it a person. That's close enough. But
I mean, I
do
feel like I
yeah.
talked to it enough that it might as well be a person. So,
I mean, I admit I was worried. I generally don't trust any magic item that can talk back to you farther than I can throw it, but it seems to have been quite kind, so I'm happy.
It's good to have a, conscience in the back of your mind, keeping you honest.
I think you've got to find one of those on your own, but I take it. I'm just glad it's not doing anything to you. With all of this, He kind of just looks distant for a moment. Well, after that dream, I guess I brought some things back.
Did I ever tell you what happened to me at Yester Hill?
I don't think you did.
It wasn't really a prophetic vision or anything, but something was calling out to me there. Another weapon, I guess, or someone who wanted me to wield one. And I left it behind, obviously, because I didn't think I wanted to deal with two of those, but if it's any consolation, I resisted that one, so I'm sure you can resist whatever this is.
That actually is. Yeah, that... Thank you. That is reassuring. It's just always been to me, like, we're supposed to be resistant to that sort of magic, to mind influence and stuff, but it's never worked for me. So I am reassured that you could fight that off. It's just... hoped I was done with this half a century ago. For now, though, if you just see that stupid staff, don't touch it.
Oh yeah, no, I have no plans to touch really anything in here.
Aerith nods at this, and then after a moment, he kind of looks over, suddenly curious, and says, "You mind a weird question?"
Shoot.
After this, once we beat Strahd, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I thought maybe I'd try to get home and see what's left of my family, or
You mean the Feywild?
Yeah, but I sort of, I think, Ez and I talked about, figuring stuff out together, so...
There's a quiet smirk. Did you now?
I will check in with her when this is all over and see what she wants to do.
Good plan. And that is all Berthan really wants to say. He's just wait.
Okay, what is Lillison's current status?
Lillison, having stopped a couple of feet in to the chasm to hash things out with Metreon, nods, turns, and continues invisibly to make her way inside.
Okay. You take a few slow steps inside, squeezing yourself through the small crack in the fissure, doing your best to avoid brushing up against anything that make excessive noise. It's difficult squeezing through, even with your smaller, slender form. It's claustrophobic as the uneven crags of earth and stone on either side push forward toward you, almost feeling as though the whole thing will crumble in on you at any moment. As you step within, I will need you to make a stealth check, please.
All right.
Do I need to make one as well?
My stealth check is 7.
Okay. You slowly squeeze through, doing your best to avoid stepping too harshly on the exposed stone. But after a moment, you push ahead and your edge of your shoulder brushes up against a heavy icicle that had just been dangling from a small ledge poking out in the crevasse. And as you do, it breaks away from its base and falls to the ground. You whirl, but you're powerless to stop before it crashes and shatters onto the stony earth below.
Wait, are you invisible, Lillison?
I am.
Doesn't she get advantage with that?
Only
No, she does
for
not.
sight-based.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's not even advantage. It just means that she can hide in clear sight.
Gotcha.
Damn.
Invisibility and stealth have nothing to do with each other. So, listen, what do you do? You hear the sound of voices in the other room immediately stop.
Lillison is going to take a few steps forward and ready an action to cast Charm Person on the first person she sees coming out.
Okay, just so you know, you cannot take readied actions outside of combat.
Okay, well, she is going to prepare in a non-mechanical way to cast Subtle Charm Person on the first person she sees coming out.
All right. You hear low voices from the other side of the fissure, and then a few heart-pounding moments go by, and then slowly you hear footsteps. You see a face peering through, looking for any sign of anything amiss. They don't see you immediately. They seem to be peering inside. Are you looking to cast a spell?
I am looking to cast the spell.
All right, that is what, a wisdom saving throw?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what we do here. That's a natural 1.
Awesome.
You watch as the eyes glaze over, looking ahead, and ultimately not reacting. They seem to continue peering through the fissure, however. Their actions unchanged by the spell.
Okay. I believe that when I cast the spell,
Invisibility's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
invisibility drops.
Correct. They immediately stiffen a bit upon seeing you, and then you hear a low voice, a woman's voice, crawl from the other side. What is it? What do you see? Is there something there? Anything from Lillison?
Lillison is going to wave a bit and pretend to look terribly excited and terribly shocked. And she is going to say, "There is something all of you must know. Sangzor the Great has been slain."
The individual staring at you from the other side of the fissure, kind of eyes widen. Is this true? Is this possible? I thought that you could. And then you hear footsteps coming, and he's pushed aside by a tall, broad-shouldered woman with kind of reddish hair falling down the sides of her head, thick, rippling muscles corded on both sides of her arms, bearing a massive blade on the back of her shoulders. She looks toward you and glares, and then immediately bares her teeth, her hands going for the hilt of her weapon. And who the fuck are you?
Lillison bows a little bit and says, "I am a stranger to these lands, but you might know my companion." And she gestures back over her shoulder at the disguised Metreon. This is AQ.
One thing I'll note is that right now you are in the middle of this fissure. It is 2 feet across. They cannot see anything past you, unless you waves from it over the top of your head.
All right, in that case...
Does you want to do that? Tippy toe? It's very tight.
Lillison will duck down a little bit, I guess.
All right, you kind of knock the side of your chin on a little outcropping of rock, and oh, that's gonna bruise in the morning. But they can now see Metron's disguised form behind you.
It is true. Someone or something dispatched with it. Blood everywhere on the path. The body is down the ravine. Horrible sight.
Make a persuasion check.
Okie doke. Persuasion or performance?
I'll
I'll do persuasion.
say your choice.
21.
21. The woman's eyebrows rise into the top of her forehead. What? So someone is slain Bloodhorn then? This seems... What manner of warrior to do such a thing? And she just kind of shakes her head. Her gaze snaps back up toward you. And who are you bringing this one here? For what purpose do you bring her?
She was on the path as I was making my way up here to tell you. I just wanted to make sure that she saw it, so she is the one who let me know. I only saw blood.
Well, if I should ever meet this warrior, then, well, whichever it was that slayed Sengzor, though, I regret that I could not see it myself. Regardless, I do not know about this one. I do not recognize you. Come in. Take our fires. Speak to us of what you have seen. And perhaps you can bring this one that you found for a bit of sport. And she grins. And in that moment, you realize that her hair is not actually red. The roots are black and the very ends are black, but the rest of it is a crusted, iron red, blood-tinged scarlet that's dried and muddy with the weight of days, if not longer. Her face curls into a snarling grin.
Sorry, Lil, but Metron snatches her by the wrists and just kind of yanks her in. She is stringy and kind of lifts up her arm, kind of waggling it. She has no meat, but she has provided storage. She's very entertaining.
Well, if you have story to tell, go ahead, tell it. And then we will decide how to play sport with you, little girl. And she, as you enter the chamber, Lilson, do you follow with Metreon?
Lillison is not going to follow Metreon. She is going to make a show of trying to snatch her arm back from him.
Okay, Metreon actually can't pass you in this very claustrophobic passage. Like I said, this is incredibly fucking awkward. If you're not going to move, he can't pass through you.
Okay.
The woman has stepped back to make room. If you're not passing through, then Metreon isn't going through either. Immediately, her face darkens at the sight of you not entering.
Okay. The plan has changed.
Okay.
Lillison is going to cast Subtle Suggestion and say, This is a tale that I can only tell out beneath the sky that witnessed this horrible truth. Please, can we come outside?
All right, that's a wisdom saving throw.
It is.
All right, and you're targeting at this warrior woman that you're facing.
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's take a quick look here. That is a 3. You see the eyes glaze over for a moment, similar to the other one, but with a deeper lidded gaze, and then she slowly nods. You know what? I think I like this one. Let us hear the story of Bloodhorn's death in this snow and grit. It should make for better entertainment, and then we will see what we do with her. She turns and barks at several so that you cannot see. Come, let us hear what she has to say. Leave the wolf here.
Metron will back up and allow everyone to file out, but he'll is there enough room to kind of walk side by side with her?
It is 2 feet wide. There is not enough room.
Then
you are squeezing.
Yeah, he will back out and start to walk back towards the front.
All right, you kind of squeeze your way through, kind of shimmying your way through this very tight, tense corridor. You watch as, peering over your shoulder, you see like one of the original Mountain Folk kind of looking at this tall almost gladiator-esque woman with a little bit of doubt, but she gives him a snarl and a nod, and he grunts and begins to follow, squeezing through after her. She follows after. You hear what you sound is the sound of a beast's distant growl from inside of the fissure on the outside of the room, but nonetheless, you squeeze out into the open air and snow, and you can see the others beginning to follow behind you.
All right, Lilison takes.
Where is everyone else?
Yeah,
at this
she's
time?
looking around to see where everybody else is.
Well, the idea is that we didn't follow close, so I think the idea is that we're a few hundred feet away, or 100 or so, enough to where we're out of immediate sight range.
I would say that Metron is probably walking them back towards it. Since he was behind Lilithan at the door, he'd probably be the first one leading them, so he'll lead them back to wherever the rest of the party was. At least in that direction.
All right. So as you move to do so, a few yards away from the exit of the crevasse, the woman spreads her hands. All right, well, we have made our way out to the great cold and wind. I should hope that this story is good, bereft of warmth and shelter. She turns toward Lilison and does not seem to be interested in proceeding further beyond. Tell us your story, girl. Let us hear of the death of Sangzor.
Well, it occurred on the slope of a mountain. This mountain, of course, but...
I will say at this point that the others further away can just faintly hear the sound of voices and crunching footprints through the snow around 100 feet away. It's very faint, but Esmeralda and Kiva perk up at the sound.
Yeah, Kiva's definitely in more of a offensive posture and is just ready for whatever horrible things are about to happen.
Aerith looks over at her. Have they come out?
I hear something. Just get ready.
He nods.
Okay, any response from Lilison or Metreon?
Metreon is looking back to see where the party is, and B, to see if they're on their way. But I assume from this distance, it's not really feasible. So he'll stand by Lilison, trying his best to sort of guard her and make sure that she's not approached or, anything like that.
We were walking along the path when we heard Sangzor, the Bloodhorn, and saw that terrible, glorious silhouette stark against the sky. And our hearts all quailed. But we had among us a great and terrible warrior, a cunning and clever mage.
The woman grunts. So, it is not something that we will mourn. I only wish that I could have slain the beast myself. But to hear that it was done in by magic trickery. Her nostrils flare and she shakes her head. A hunted enemy like that deserved a better death.
Well, maybe you should actually kind of have some cause for concern, because Randy!
Erthrindir takes his cue.
Yeah, Kiva follows close behind and is just like, fuck, oh shit, oh geez.
All right, I guess we're kicking this off.
Okay, give me a moment to get all the pieces together.
All 50,000 of our players.
Yeah, there's a large group of people outside this temple right now.
Ooh,
Gang.
party.
I love that, I probably did not have to roll any deception checks because all of those words were literally true.
It's the Lilison special.
Uh-huh.
Well, at least we know they're hostile now.
It happens.
I mean, we're always hostile, so let's get this.
Well, one of them isn't though, because she got the charm person on him.
Right.
Or them.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he was apparently not anybody who is super important.
Yeah, but as long as it's one person out of the battle,
Yeah, apparently it's charmed until we do anything harmful to him specifically, not like him or his friends. So
Yeah.
Okay, so we just gotta not hit the one guy.
Yeah, if we even know who that one guy is.
Fuck.
Would you? I mean, like,
Yeah, do I?
Which one guy?
Yeah, which one guy?
Which one? Oh my god.
I'm just gonna put you guys down here. I'd say. for
Yeah,
the sake of
we
things.
were pretty far away. That's reasonable.
Which guy did I
Time for
charm?
violence.
All right, just let me arrange all of our pieces on this lovely board. Okay, all right. With that, let's get everyone added to initiative.
$20.
11.
$22.
That's a 4 for Amity.
Okay.
And Jesus.
All right.
And an 18 for Earthrendeer.
All right. In that case, Davian has first act. All right. Davian will curse just close enough for Earthrin to hear. Fucking hell! I thought she was fucking planning on magicking him or something. And he pulls out a crossbow.
Poorly.
Shakes his head, spitting out a curse, and loads his crossbow and begins stepping forward, taking aim. Let me see the range on this thing. I don't think it's quite long enough.
Hand crossbows are 30-90.
Yeah, no, he's just going to ready an action in case anything comes close. With that, Kiva, you are up. You see Lillison and Metreon surrounded by a semicircle of mountain folk that are looking surprised and beginning to grimace with hostile intent. What are you doing?
All right, so she's gonna run right up in between those two.
All right.
There.
Is it-
And then ready in action if one comes at either one of Metreon or Lillison, she's gonna swing her 2 attacks at that person.
All right, it sounds good. In that case, Amity is up. Twy, you're running her. What's going on?
I am. So, Amity, seeing that things have indeed kicked off, ruffles through her spells. And about how far away are they from us at the moment?
At the moment, going off of my handy dandy ruler, they are 50 feet away from Amity, 50 to 60 feet away.
All right, that's perfect. As she readies a shatter spell. Now
All right,
cannot.
very good.
Now I cannot actually see them to place this, but oh, there they are.
Yes, let me give you some light.
Yeah, please. I can't see shit.
There we go. That should help.
It really didn't. They're still just on a black field.
Um,
Oh, I think that might just be my computer
yeah,
then.
I think it is.
There we go.
Okay.
So yes, what is Amity doing?
She is casting Shatter on these 4 boys.
All right, the ones to the left in like the Tetris shape.
Yep.
All right, very good. Let's get some saving throws in here.
Working on it. Okay, that's a DC 16 con save, or take 18.
Alrighty. That is starting from the top right and going down left. 8, 15, 19, 22.
First 2 fail, second 2 pass.
All right, you see the emergence of the big bad wolf that you've now grown to associate with Amity's shatter spell erupt with a roar, a blast of sonic energy that sends each of them spiraling backward. 2 of them taking 18 damage. And then 2 of them taking half damage.
Alrighty, that's her turn for now. She's hanging back.
All right, very good. That's the end of Amity's turn. Next up, Lillison. you have you watch as the blast resounds, and you see the woman who had been speaking immediately move to her back and grab her weapon. You see strapped to her side a buckler that's large enough to be a shield, as well as a massive spear that she's now reaching for. Treachery! Treachery! See to it that they are... She shakes her head. No prisoners! Take no prisoners today. Except him. And she leers toward Metron and draws her spear.
Okay.
Alright.
That is some data. Lillison is going to cast Crown of Madness on her.
Okay. That is a wisdom saving throw, right?
It is.
That is a 15 exactly.
Dang. All right. In that case, with her bonus action, she is going to yell at Erthrindir and say, Erthrindir, that one, undoubtedly the leader. Her shins are not protected. And give him advantage on his next attack.
I would
All right.
suggest you give that to someone else, because he is casting a spell next turn.
Oh,
You could give it to Kiva.
You could give it to Kiva.
Kiva is like super far up on the combat list, though.
It's up to you.
That's true.
Yeah, but
Maybe-
Aerith can't
maybe
do
It's
anything.
either Kaz, Irina, or me.
Yeah, or Metreon. Metreon
does-
would probably use it.
Does Metreon look like he's about to attack physically and or use anything that will, necessitate an attack roll?
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably throw out a couple Eldritch Blasts.
Okay, yeah. Then she still gives Erthrindir the info that that's the leader.
Yep,
but
and he'll take that.
She's going to point out the weaknesses to Metreon.
Alright, very good.
And then she's gonna scoot away.
Excellent. Alright, with that, that is the end of Lillison's turn. Erthrindir, you're up.
All right, and as Metreon yells, he's running, letting the magic of the blade song wrap around him. And then as he goes, he raises his wand in the familiar posture of the conductor, and a fireball blossoms. All right.
Alright, plop that guy down.
Plopping that guy down. That's everybody.
That hits all of them.
Very much so, yes.
Beautiful.
Okay, and they need to make a DC 14 dex save or take 25 fire damage.
Alright, so starting from the top going down, that is a success, fail, 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 and then the stronger one succeeds.
Excellent. So 25 or 12 on half. And
I'm just marking that
his turn.
down.
Obviously charging in to join the battle directly.
Alright, beautiful. With that is the end of your turn. Casimir is up. He will take his turn a bit shakily, and then stepping forward, look around for a moment, and then raise his hands, chanting quietly toward the orb. You watch as it swirls upward in a spiral of deep, sickly, greenish-tinged flames, and then sears forward as he attacks with a fireball of his own.
Wizard party.
All right.
Metreon is very grateful for all this warmth, by the way.
Lillison is not.
Okay, that is one success, two successes, three successes and a few failures. So let's get some damage on these kids.
How much damage did he roll?
25.
Ooh, nice.
All right, one of them burns alive, screaming as the fires consume him, falling to the ground, his axe falling out of his grip. Gone. The others, three of them seem heavily wounded, their figures scorched and writhed with flames and ash. The big woman just looks mad.
I respect that.
All right, and that is the end of our friend Casimir's turn. Irina will follow in Davian's footsteps, taking up slide along Esmeralda and readying a crossbow for anyone that charges forward. Metron, you're up.
Seeing that, he's going to go ahead and launch. He's going to launch Eldritch Blast at the big lady. And
okay,
the first
go for
one's
it.
done with the help action. So. Uh, 24 for the first one. That
24 will
was
certainly hit.
shins.
Ooh, you needed that advantage. That was otherwise a nat 1.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be 5 points of force damage, and then the second one's going to her face.
All right, go for it.
10.
A 10, unfortunately, she raises the shield and obstructs the shock. It rings out with the sound of metal and woodwork. She brings it back down, gritting at you, gritting her teeth, and through dirt and what you're pretty sure are old blood stains.
So, you wish to dance then, traitor? Whatever you are, let's see how well you bleed.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on that myself. And he's going to use the bonus action to disengage.
Nobody's close to you. You're chill.
Yeah, are you sure you want to?
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to disengage?
I mean, yeah, you're right. I'm just going to move.
Okay.
I think for my bonus action.
All right. Very good. All right. With that, the tall woman snarls and scowls, shaking her bloodstained hair out of her face.
So the traitor is a coward as well.
She turns toward Kiva.
I suppose you will do for sport in his stead. Shall we dance?
And she hefts her spear toward you with a grin.
Kiva just smirks at her. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Alrighty. So she steps toward you, hefting her shield, and then breaks into a quicker run and turns, slamming the shield directly toward your face as she attacks with her shield bash. That is a 23 to hit.
Bring it on.
Alright, you suffer 9 points of bludgeoning damage, and I need you to make a strength saving throw.
Okay.
Come on.
Are
you raging?
I was gonna ask if
don't
I
believe
could
you-
have retroactively done it, but I think it's a little too late. So
Yeah, it's a little late for that. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's okay.
Next
That's
round.
fine. 13.
Oh yeah, did you have a ready to action, by the way?
Yeah, I did. If she,
Because
if
that would go
anyone-
off.
Yeah, if anyone was gonna come in range of that, so I'm gonna
Yes,
launch
so,
2 attacks
yes.
at her.
Go for it. You get 1 attack.
Ah, fuck.
Yep, that's part of the trade-off of making a ready to action. You don't get the full... Yeah.
Oh my god, this is so ridiculous. Hold on. Can I use my reckless on an opportunity attack?
What's the text of Reckless say? It just says when you make an attack, or does it say
Yeah.
on attack on your turn?
I'm not sure. Hold on. Sorry, my sheet is acting up a lot.
You're good? Let me take a quick look at the text of the ability.
You can. You choose to reckless at the start of your turn.
Cool.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Or when you make the first attack on your turn.
Not great.
Yes.
13.
13. Unfortunately, she brings up the shield again, deflecting the blow, and curves around, attempting to... let's say... Given the distance, what she's looking at here... she's going to slam you with the shield again. This one going right for your face. Alright, that is going to be a 25 to hit, dealing
Go for
11
it.
points of bludgeoning damage.
All right. Kiva just
Alright.
wipes her face and spits the blood at her.
Okay. With that, give me another strength saving throw, please.
Oof, it's an 8.
Alright, you fall over prone to the ground.
Okay. She is proud.
As you do, she immediately lashes forward toward you, moving to plant a foot at the center of your chest and reaching out to grasp you around the neck as she readies her spear with the other. She's making a grapple attempt on you.
Don't I automatically fail if I'm prone?
No, you do not.
You just have disadvantage.
Correct. Your choice of athletics or acrobatics.
Okay. 17!
28, motherfucker.
Fuck you!
Alright, she grabs you right around the neck, grinning down toward you.
You seem like a fun one.
She turns toward the others.
Take them on, finish them, or die gloriously. I think I'll carve this one up myself.
And she begins dragging Kiva back behind enemy lines. And that is all she can move, because she's moving at half speed with the grapple. Esmeralda is up.
If
She
she doesn't
curses.
jump in to save her future girlfriend, I'm gonna lose it.
Esmeralda hurls herself forward through the snow, lashing, checking her rapier for a second, then shaking her head. That's how far she can move here. And let's see if she can make this work. Excuse me as I place this template on the board. Let's see if she can get this. Not quite.
Ideal.
No, not entirely. Yeah, not with the heading Earthrendir. I'll say that she will launch off a firebolt then. You see her hand and wand crackle with electrical energy for a moment, and then she instead chooses, shaking her head, and hurls a gout of massive flame toward the woman imprisoning Kiva, hollering,
Get the fuck away from her!
and let's see how that works. It's going to roll a firebolt. It's going to be unfortunately a 10 to hit as the woman shies aside, no longer using her shield because she is keeping Kiva in place, but easily ducking the attack as it roars over her head. That is the end of Esmeralda's turn. Ismark is up. He's going to take up a position in front of the others, but still stepping forward a little bit, and he's going to fire off a shot with his heavy crossbow toward one of the weaker berserkers. It's going to be an 11 to hit, which I believe just misses as the berserker ducks aside, evading the attack. He curses and begins to load another one. And next up after him is our good friend's turns.
Yay!
Party people.
Excellent.
Alrighty
for
then.
me.
So, leaving Kiva behind, who has used up a reaction this turn and therefore cannot attack of opportunity. Two of them will gang up on Earthrendir, one of them each on Lillison and Metreon. So, the ones on Earthrendir will attack with a reckless attack with advantage, with their as they bring their great axes slamming forward toward you. And that is a 19 to hit.
Shield.
All right, you throw up the shield, and the wisps of mist cause the mighty blow to twist through space in the air for a moment, of vanishing to the other side. The berserker looking fairly confused as its compatriot roars and tries to move in as well. That is a crit,
Great.
Ay, Dios mío.
dealing total of 12 points of slashing damage as it slides right around the shield and directly into your side.
Ouch.
Okay, and then against the Lilith and Metreon. First one is reckless with the great axe. That is a 24 to hit Lillison.
Oof. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother with the shield.
All right, you suffer 12 points of slashing damage as it carves across your side. The other one's going to attack Metreon. Recklessing. That's a crit again. Man, these boys are going nuts.
I'm gonna Hellish Rebuke as my reaction.
Very fair.
Nice.
It's when you take damage or when you get hit.
Uh,
I mean, when someone attacks you.
when I'm
It's when you
damaged.
take damage. Okay, so first you take 18 points of slashing damage.
All right. And that's going to be 20 points of fire damage with DC 14 Dex save.
20? God damn.
That is an 18, so for half damage, right?
Yeah.
Don't
Doesn't
you
matter,
add
it's still
something to
enough.
fire damage?
I do actually, yes. So that's
Ooh.
going to be 13 points.
13 points. All right. He dies charbroiled as this rush of diabolic flames rushes out to consume him. The great axe dropping charred to the ground as the ashen, badly burned body drops into the snow and begins hissing as it melts the ice with its ambient heat. All right, and that is the end of their turns. Davian is up. He's going to attempt to fire over Lillison's head, not getting too close, with his hand crossbow, making one shot with half cover. Attack with advantage because of Reckless. That is a 21 to hit. That hits, dealing 4 points of damage. The Berserker takes it in the arm, but roars and keeps going, slashing blindly and wildly at Lillison, lost to the Bloodlust. That is the end of Davian's turn. He will then take a step back. And next up is Kiva. You are prone and grappled.
Fuck yeah, bonus action rage. And then...
All right! Roll on that wild magic table.
Hell yeah, let's do it, brother!
Let's fucking go!
I can never remember which one of these is the fucking gate. Alright, let's see what that one is. Oh, that's fun. So as she's grappled and bleeding that black blood with her actual normal blood from the shield bash, those flowers and vines that Metreon saw back in the winery 15,000 years ago sprout around her within 15 feet, and it's difficult terrain for her enemies.
Oh shit, that's actually really topical.
Yeah, right?
Alright, you are now surrounded by difficult terrain in a 15-foot radius.
And is it a action to break a grapple?
It is an action, yes. You have an extra... It is an attack action, but since you're barbarian, you have an extra attack, so you can use one of your attacks.
Oh, fuck yeah, okay.
I think. Twy, correct me if I'm wrong. It might be an action.
No, it's a full action to break a grapple.
Alright, it's a full action.
Can
Sorry.
I attack her from the ground?
Yes, but you have disadvantage because you're prone.
Alright, well, I'm gonna reckless so that I get regular.
Sick.
Go for it.
Hold on one second. Jesus Christ. This
Dang,
sounds so bothersome.
Her element here. These are all her boys.
Uh, 23!
Tear her up.
Eat shit!
Okay, 23 will hit. What's the damage?
12, and I'm gonna expend a spell slot to Divine Smite her ass.
Alright, let me just check something real quick. Alright, very good.
Alright, and let's do 2d8. So 18 altogether.
Okay, that's another 6 points of damage. She grunts as the burning radiant shaft of the sword bites through her side.
Well, so you have some bite to you then. That will make this all the more fun.
Kiva just like curls a finger at her in the like come and get it way. Let's go.
All right. With that is the end of Kiva's turn, right?
Yes, that is it.
All right, 1 second. From farther within the temple, Kiva, you think you hear the sound of something crashing or a loud thud. It's muffled and distant, but you can't quite tell what it is.
That's not good. Okay.
Erthrindir, you glance back and you see Esmeralda's gaze abruptly whipped over to the main entrance to the temple.
His gaze turns that way as well. What do they see?
You don't see anything yet.
Oh boy.
All right, and with that, it is now Amity's turn. What is she up to?
All right. So, let me get some... it's a simple strategy, but quite unbreakable. I think it's time for Shatter 2, the Shatterning.
All right.
I'm feeling 3rd level.
Go for it.
And that can... Ooh, there we are.
Delicious.
All right, and where were you placing it? There we go.
Oh,
I'll hit 2 of them.
Yeah, no way to do that without hitting Erthrindir. She'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All right.
That's a con save or 24 thunder damage.
Top one fails, bottom one succeeds.
Excellent. Then she's going to... Are they still kicking?
One of them is still barely alive. The other one is thrown back violently like a ragdoll onto the ground.
Gotcha. In that case, she'll move up to be closer to the fight, but not too close. And then that's her turn.
All right, very good. So ends Amity's turn. Lillison, you are up. You are adjacent to one, very nearly dead, but still fighting hard. Berserker, what are you doing?
Or actually, Amity would
Yes.
yell, all right, Lillison, you can do this. I know you can. And she'll give her Bardic Inspiration.
Aw, thank you.
All right, and there we go.
Okay.
Lillison, you're up. What are you doing?
I guess Lillison is going to see if she can do this. Oh, wow, okay. What can I actually use Bardic Inspiration on? I guess Lillison is going to glance back over her shoulder at Amity, nod, straighten up a bit, and then thrust both her palms out before her at this berserker that nearly took half her life off in one swing last turn, and she's going to cast Ray of Sickness.
Okay, the one that's right next to you?
Yes,
All right, that is with disadvantage because it's a ranged spell attack, right?
that is true.
Do you
You
want
can always
to...
save it. I have a feeling
Yeah.
we're going to...
It's up to you. This one's... What do you want to do?
Okay, she's going to start pushing her palms out, and at the last moment, she twists her wrist and slips her sleeve dagger down and stabs him instead.
There you go.
Okay, it's stabby stabby. Let's go. You have advantage because he reckless last turn.
Excellent. I guess I don't need the Bardic Inspiration. That's a 22 to hit for 4 damage.
Is that with your sneak attack?
Sneak attack?
I would like to add Sneak Attack.
You certainly may. Go ahead.
Within 5 feet of you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that is correct.
No, you just rolled
yeah.
really well.
Yeah, you rolled 2 6s.
All right, that's 4 damage and then 12 Sneak Attack damage, I guess.
Okay. You slice forward, jabbing right into the side and slicing across the tendons on the other side of one of the wrists. He drops the great axe, eyes wide, and then, without missing a beat, you step forward, twisting just beneath his guard, and stab the dagger right through the neck and pull it out. He falls as a splurt of blood stains the white snow.
Wilson glances back over her shoulder at Amity and says, I suppose I could. Thank you.
Amity grins.
Erthrendir, the one next to you.
Got it. But I'm going after. I was going after something else.
What, the big one?
Yeah, I was going for a spell. You're better off helping somebody else.
All right. Looking around, she says, Ismark. Left. Yes, there it is. Ribs, left side. And is going to give him a help action against the Berserker next to Erthrendir.
All right, Ismark shoots you a nod and reaches for the longsword at his side.
And I think that's
Is that
the
your
end of my turn. Yeah.
All right, Erthrendir, you are up. There's a Berserker next to you and a larger mountain folk dragging Kiva away through a field of flowers and daisies.
Our lives have gotten weird.
I love that everyone else's magic in Barovia is like fucked, and Kiva's is just like nature goddess.
It's pretty great. Yeah, and as he'll turn to this Berserker woman, I think you need to sit down and think about a different side of life. And he is going to cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Okay.
That is a DC 14 Wisdom save.
That is an 8. That is a failure.
Okay, and she falls prone and sees everything as hideously funny.
You watch as her eyes slowly open wide, wider still. You can see the whites of her eyes. She goes, hey. I mean, laughing like a jackal before collapsing on the ground, turning, tears falling from her eyes. You see desperate mirth, but also pain, pleading, desperation, twisting on the ground at your feet.
Alrighty. Then he kind of turns to the Berserker to his side. Still a chance to run. I'd recommend it. And that's his turn.
All right, what are you doing?
That's all.
All right, no more movement? Okay, great. In that case, Casimir's up. Casimir will take a step forward, analyze the situation briefly, and fire off a firebolt at, let's say, the woman who's got Kiva in tow.
Erthrendir will politely ask him to hit the other one.
All right, he'll aim at the one next to you then.
Thank you.
But that would be a disadvantage.
That's fine.
But they're reckless, so it cancels out. That's a normal attack.
Or wait, did you say the one next to me or the one next to...
He's aiming for the one next to Kiva.
Oh, no, the one next to me. My apologies.
All right, so you want him to aim at the one next to you?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. You're good. All right, in that case, that's just what he'll do with a 16 to hit, dealing 14 points of fire damage. Actually, no, he has disadvantage. And he hits anyway. Beautiful. The Berserker does not seem to be too upset by it, but nonetheless takes the damage. That's Casimir's turn. Arena will slowly step forward. At the side of it, kind of step slowly off to the side to peer down the dark corridor, and her eyes widen. Guys, there's some kind of massive wolf coming up the stairs toward us.
Oh, yes, they mentioned there was a wolf.
Thank you.
All right, she will use her dash action to step back beside Davian. She does not look like she wants to be in close proximity to that. Metron, you're up.
So does Homegirl still have Kiva grappled?
Yes.
Okay, even with the laughter.
Wait, were you targeting? Yeah. Oh, you're targeting her, or were you targeting the one next to you?
I was targeting her.
Oh, okay, that changes things.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought that was the source of the misunderstanding.
Nope. Yes, sorry. You said Berserker, and there's only one type of thing labeled Berserker on here.
My apologies.
You're good. Let me see what her saving throw modifier is. Yes, she would have failed. Let me see if there's anything that would have changed that. Nope, yes, so she does fail, and Kiva is freed from the grapple.
Aerith will shoot Metron a look. If you can, don't hit her until you need to. It'll break the spell.
Right. And Metron's going to go ahead and rush up to this guy and take out a dagger. He's going to stabby stab.
All right, go for it.
$16.
16 will hit, and you do have advantage on this
Oh, even better.
if you want to fish for some crits.
No, I'll stick with the 16. All right, so that's going to be 5 points of piercing plus... Boo. 3 points of sneak attack.
All right, very good.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so take the 3 points of sneak attack. Okay, is that your turn?
Yeah, that's going to be it for now. How does Randy look?
He's a little bloodied, but he's all right.
Okay. Yeah, that's my turn then.
All right, Tasha's Hideous is at the end of the turn, right?
Yep.
All right, so she'll make a wisdom saving throw. That is a 15.
All right, then the spell's ended.
All right. The laughter immediately stops and she snarls, spinning to get to her feet as swiftly as she can. But
She's
Kiva
still
is
prone.
already ungrappled. Yep, she's not able to get up. She's just trying to. Esmeralda is up, and Esmeralda will leap forward. 1, 2, 3. She can make it. All right, she's going to actually take the long way. Actually, no, she can't. She's going to do it anyway. She's going to risk the attack of opportunity, which the Berserker next to her will take. Esmeralda parries it easily, without even a thought, her rapier flashing to the side, and
God, I love
dives toward this prone mountain folk, spinning with her rapier and enchanted hand axe as she drives them down toward her, attacking with advantage because of prone. That is 2 hits and a crit for a total of 9, 18, 28 points of damage. The one on the ground chokes, coughing up blood, but leering up through the bloodstained teeth toward her, baring her teeth. Esmeralda hisses, "Stay down." All right, Ismark is up. As per Lillison's request, he will launch forward toward the Berserker next to Erthrendir, and he will go for Lillison's instructed attacks, attacking twice with his longsword. It's a miss and a miss, sadly. He grunts
Even
and
with
whirls
the,
with a silvered short sword. What's that?
Even with the advantage?
He already had advantage because of Reckless.
Oh, okay.
Yes, apologies. But he does hit with the silvered short sword, dealing 8 points of piercing damage. All right, that is the end of his turn. Our friend Berserker will take his turn, looking around back at her compatriot and then forward toward Metreon, and the one by the three of you will launch herself at Metreon, spinning with her great axe.
Why?
Recklessly. That is a 13 to hit.
That does not hit.
All right, it goes wide. You nimbly weaving aside before it can make contact with your form. That is the end of their turn. Davian is up. He will slowly advance, taking another shot with his crossbow. 19, dealing 8 points of piercing damage. And that will end his turn. Kiva, you're prone next to another prone person. What you doing?
It's half my movement to get up, or my full movement?
It is half your movement.
Fuck yeah. She's gonna stand up. She's gonna reckless the first attack and then take the advantage from her being prone for the second one. So it's just all advantage all the time.
All right. Standing up. Go for it.
$27.
All right. 27 certainly hits. What's the damage?
12 radiant damage on the first one.
All right. She's looking pretty weak.
17
17 at the last moment as you lash down toward her. She hefts her spear, lifting aside and parrying your blow, raising her AC by 3.
Man, fuck you, bitch.
Nice try.
Can I...
She spits blood up into your face.
Oh, do I have to immediately use the Divine Smite? Or can I be like, I'm gonna just Divine Smite?
Yes, it has to be immediate.
Okay. Alright, well, she's gonna free action spit her own blood mixed with the barbarian's blood into her face. So, it's just a whole bunch of, like, communicable diseases being shared.
Alright, very good. But that ends your turn. Davian turns and gives a shout of alarm as you see emerging from the massive entry of the temple a massive dire wolf. Lashing its gaze toward the group of you, and then seeing what the numbers have been reduced to, pauses. One of its massive paws raised in the air, looking hesitant, almost though its whole form is tensed. But it waits for the moment. Amity is up. What's she doing?
Okay. Seeing that the wolf is uncertain, she takes a confident step forward towards it. All right. I know you don't want to hurt us, and we don't really want to hurt you. But we are very strong. So, I think what you should do is cut your losses and go live your life, you know? And she's going to cast Animal Friendship.
Okay, does that spell charm?
It does. It's a
All
wisdom
right.
save.
That is a 4, but you watch as the wisping spell curls through the air toward it, and then the massive direwolf snarls and actually tears the magic apart. You see its eyes flare crimson, and Amity is briefly reminded of the same glow she's seen in Strahd's vampiric gaze. This wolf does not see... It doesn't look like Strahd, but there's something of Strahd's power about it. She does not feel like this is going to be successful.
Okay, that's not ideal. And that's been all her movement. Exciting.
Lillison, you're up.
All right. Lillison is going to dare to come up a little closer.
All right.
And she is going to cast... Let me double check the range of this. Yeah. She is going to cast Infestation on the leader.
Okay, that's what, a con save?
That is a con save.
That is a 7.
Okay.
All right.
That's going to be 7 poison damage, and she's going to have to move 5 feet to the west. Unfortunately, this does not provoke opportunity attacks.
All right. Frantically squirming, rolling, writhing on the ground as you watch as this cloud of spiders appears, crawling over every inch of her skin, biting with, mites, fleas, and other small insects, reaching for every corner of their flesh that they can reach. She yelps in pain, rolling in the snow away from Esmeralda.
Then she glances over at Ismark, gives him a warm smile, nods to the berserker in front of him, and says, "Left ankle."
He gives you a nod. All right. Earthrendeer, you're up.
All right. Seeing the wolf emerge from the shadows, he sees that Ismark and Metron seem to have this handled, and will risk the op as he strides away from the berserker. To take up position beside Amity. Will it take it?
What's Earthrendeer doing?
He's moving away from the berserker. Does it want to make an op attack?
Oh, always.
Exciting.
Let's see, that's going to be a 23 to hit.
Okay, he's going to cutting words that. It is now a 16 to hit,
Nice.
which whiffs.
All right, beautiful. It carves right through the air as your jolt of arcane power deflects the blow, and you find yourself standing next to Amity.
Alrighty. He is good old-fashioned firebolt. Nothing fancy here. That's a crit fail. We're doing great,
All right.
kids.
The wolf sidesteps it, bounding away from the space. Still, its whole frame tense, but you see its eyes scanning the field almost, not intelligently. This thing still seems to have a beast's intelligence, but almost though it's weighing its options.
Radical.
The firebolt shatters harmlessly, hissing through the steam of the evaporated snow.
That's his turn, then.
All right. Casimir is up. He will step forward and send a firebolt with disadvantage. Yes. That unfortunately is a 15 to hit, which just barely misses. He curses and takes a step back. Irina will keep looking out, looking toward the wolf, holding a hand crossbow in case it rushes toward Amnesia. Metron, you're up. There is a very wounded berserker next to you in Ismar, and there is a very wounded berserker leader on the floor next to Kiva. What you doing?
And the berserker is like moving away, right?
No, none of them seem to be retreating.
Oh, not the berserker, the leader.
You can tell that she was just rolled on the ground to the west by like 5 feet due to some kind of spell that Lilison cast.
Okay. I feel like Ismark has this, so he looks over at the leader, big lady, just shouts out, "Yeah, you better run!" And but there's this intense force of will that he pushes through when he says that, and he's going to go ahead and cast Mind Sliver.
Okay, is that a saving throw?
That is.
That's
an
a new
intelligence
trick.
saving throw.
That is an 11.
That
How much
does
damage?
So that's going to be 7 points of psychic damage, and she subtracts 1d4 from the next saving throw before the end of my next turn.
All right. Well, my question to that is, how do you want to do this?
Oh, yeah. So as I see her writhing and roiling on the ground through the grass, I just shout that out. And she pauses for a moment on her knees, sitting upright. She looks back at Kiva, and Kiva would see just blood running down her nose and her ears, and then she just falls.
That she does, the spear and shield tumbling from her grasp onto the snow around her.
And
Still
Ismark,
unmoving.
I was going to say, Ismark sees a little bit of blood trickling out of Metron's nose.
He gives you a sideways, somewhat wary glance, but doesn't say anything.
And that's my turn.
Okay. Very good. With that, Esmeralda will take her turn. She'll give Kiva a quick look. Right, then. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I think we have a wolf to deal with now.
Right. She looks at his mark. I think he's got it handled. And she'll leap off toward the wolf, making her way through the snow. As soon as she rears back to begin casting a firebolt, however, the wolf throws a look over her shoulder where the taller woman now lies dead on the ground, snarls, and begins bounding away across the snow in the opposite direction, away from your group. Esmeralda holds her fire, looking slightly uncertain. She throws a look toward Airthorn and Amity. Are we going to give chase to it?
I think it's all right. It's what happens.
She gives a nod, grunts, and then hurls on her weight, pivoting on her heel and flinging the firebolt toward the final standing berserker. With advantage. That is a 20 to hit, dealing 14 points of fire damage. It burns a hole right through the center of the chest. Metron, you see the woman look up at you with wide eyes and then slowly crumples to the ground as the firebolt crackles away into ash and smoke. And that is the end of our combat. As slowly the wolf retreats into the fog and snow, and you're left surrounded by the unmoving bodies of the berserkers you had just found.
Oh, my head hurts. Is everyone all right?
Aerith is nursing a nasty axe slash along his side. I think I'll live. They certainly didn't. They certainly put up a fight.
Yeah, they did. The Metron peels off the berserker disguise.
That disguise proved much more effective than I thought. I am very grateful that you were there. I don't think that the rest of my plan would have worked.
Yeah, what happened there?
She seemed keen on eating people. From what I gathered, that ain't her natural hair color.
Oh God. Okay, suddenly feeling the guilt trickle away a tad.
Yeah. Kiva, you good? And Metron will go over to the little patch of grass that I presume is still there. And we'll start to help Kiva up onto her feet. Unless she's already on her feet, then he'll just stabilize her.
Yeah.
And when he's over there, he'll kick the body of the leader in the boot.
Aerith will turn to Lillison. So, I vote we take a minute before we dive back in. We're all a bit wounded. We could use the hour.
Lillison nods like way too many times and sits down and starts wiping at her face.
Do we want to maybe hide in that little cave, that little crack there that they was hiding out in?
I'd rather not be in there until we're ready to fight, personally. If there's flame skulls in the next room, then
I think they did bring out everybody, but yes, I don't know what else we would find in there. Out here is better.
We'll start a fire for the cold-blooded folks.
Yeah, I'm sure one of these bodies you can use for kindling. But in the meantime,
there's a line.
Metron's ignoring you and is starting to rifle through the body of the leader to see if she has anything on her, aside from the spear and the shield.
Looking over her, it's pretty much just the spear and the shield. She also has a set of studded leather armor. It's not terrible quality.
Anyone want this? And he'll hold up the vest of the armor.
No thanks. I don't like things that I have to take a gamble to see if they're human skin.
Metron, there's a moment where Metron struggles to figure out what Randy's talking about, but then looks at the leather of the vest and just kind of throws it off and starts wiping his hands on his chest just to wipe off possible human flesh germs.
He looks a little too pleased with himself. All right, well, I'll set up camp, see if I can't get a snack cooking or something. Suppose we should... Yeah, we ought to bury these. We don't want to leave the rock room for anything to attract it to us.
Okay, so are a lot of you going to take a short rest then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, if there's anything you'd like to do, let me know. Otherwise, feel free to huddle
I presume
up. And...
digging a hole to bury these folks would disrupt the rest.
Yes, it would.
Then yeah, no, just huddling up with the gang. Aerith trying his best to get a fire started.
I assume that you can't use Bardic Inspiration for hit die.
No, I don't think so.
There's literally nothing else I can spend them on before
I think it's okay. We get
it
it back on a short rest anyway.
All right. Okay, with that, you take your short rest, trying to find some shelter, I presume, in one of the crags nearby, just facing the temple. As you do, several of you feel your gazes occasionally drawn to the statues and the alcoves on the side of the temple, not least Metreon, who feels a small tickling at the back of his head. And as you look at those statues, every time you let your gaze linger for a little too long, you feel something squirming in the pit of your stomach, a small whisper of unease that seems impossible to completely ignore. It's all you can do to tear your gaze away and avoid giving them too much of your attention, upon which point the faint feeling fades away.
I would just like to note that I rolled 3 hit dice and recovered 1 hit point.
Hey!
I love that for you.
Aerith will tell a story as he works at cooking something, probably with Amity's help. And actually, I should see if my Song of Rest is better, because I rolled a 2.
All right.
It is hers, so y'all heal for 4 in addition before you spend more hit dice.
I'll take it.
Okay. With that, the hour comes to a close as you do your best to bandage or heal up your wounds as best you can, catching your breath and reserving your strength. And you find yourselves ready to continue as Ismark looks around and grunts, "All right, are we going in back to the same way that you were checking out before?"
It would be an awful shame if we didn't at this point.
Yes, I think that is still the safest option.
All right then. Do we need a volunteer to go in first, or do we have someone who's planning on going in? I think you said it was empty before.
Casimir's going to go in first.
Casimir's eyes go wide. I don't think that might be particularly advantageous.
Well, you could stay in the dark.
It's looking over the lot of you. Forgive me. It seems that most of us would be able to, and I'm not exactly what you would call a frontline fighter. I'm more help to you away from the front.
Aerith grunts and pushes forward. Fine, I'll take point.
Metrion's eyes linger at Casimir for a moment as everyone's kind of filing into line, but he'll take note of that and follow with the others.
All right, Esmeralda will nod and follow up with Earthendeer. If you want, I can take a look in alongside you. We can go in together.
That seems sensible. Thank you.
All right, then. Let's keep an eye out, then. Then she will proceed alongside you, although
was Lillison
squeezing
saying
with you.
something?
Lillison is going to linger a little bit and give Earthendeer a worried look, but she's not going to say anything of her own initiative.
He exchanges with it and kind of steps over. What's going on?
I know that you do not particularly want to think about your dream again.
He takes a long breath, blowing out cold air. I don't, but I was being childish. I can... What is it?
All of Amity's dreams so far have been fairly straightforward warnings, except for that last one that she had, which I think we might be able to learn the true meaning of soon. I am very anxious to know what warning your dream was supposed to give us before we rushed into the very thing it was supposed to warn us about.
Well, at minimum, don't touch any strange stabs you find. I think that'll end. If you start feeling any whispering little voices in your mind, tell us, all right? And if I start acting weird, if this is some sort of compulsion that's directly targeted at me, stop me before I hurt someone. Whatever you gotta do.
I don't have a way to do that.
Yeah, you do.
She gives him a long, level look and says, "No, not for you, I don't think."
Aerith looks there's a flash of anger for a moment at like, come on, aren't you going to get what I'm going at? And then kind of he realizes, and there's looking at Lillison with immense fondness. You are an extraordinary woman, you know that?
Well, that's one word for it.
No, it's a good one. You're amazing. I mean, of course, you know, you're competent, but I think I'll keep reminding you. But for now, yeah. Keep your eyes open, and if any of us start doing stuff that we shouldn't, we'll figure it out.
She nods and smirks a bit, and then she says, as she shoulders her pack, "When we're out of here, I think we should have a conversation about your new magic."
Oh, I never told you, did I? Yeah, I think we should. He looks half excited, half apprehensive at this. For now, though, we are diving into more magic, so I think we'll have a lot to occupy our time.
That's putting it very lightly.
And yeah, he'll step forward.
All right. Are you going to squeeze your way through the narrow fissure?
Yes.
Fissure time!
Okay. With that, you and Esmeralda, moving in single files, slowly push through this narrow, extremely claustrophobic gap, doing your best to avoid the ice and shards of rock that protrude and force you to contort yourselves at uncomfortable angles to make your way inside. It's not long, however, though it seems an eternity as you push yourselves through the cracks, that you emerge into a new chamber on the opposite side. Torches and sconces light this bare stone room. 6 bedrolls made of stitched animal furs cover the room. Cold air enters through the fissure in the southwest wall from which you formerly came. The room is empty, and to the north and to the east you see massive pairs of 10-foot tall amber doors. The northern doors are closed. The eastern doors open onto a dark, obsidian black balcony that looks over to a dark, expansive space.
Randy, Ace?
It's safe. Just be careful. There's an open door here. Don't want to know it'll hear us.
Esmeralda holds up a finger to her lips, gives her nod, and slowly moves toward the open doors. She peers around the corner and just slowly begins pulling them shut. You hear a thunderous slam, and then she quickly darts out and heaves the other one shut, which closes with a thud that sends reverberations through the floor of the room. She's breathing hard, but turns toward you with a small thumbs up.
All right, it's safe. Come on in.
Very, very cautiously, Metron will step in.
Yeah, Lillison is going to head in, pick up that icicle along the way that she accidentally smashed before, and just, absentmindedly crunch it against the wall of the fissure on her way in.
All right. Will Kiva and Amity follow inside?
Yes, Dragna, I will. From the void.
All right, and Kiva as well?
I think that's a yes.
All right, in that case, all of you find yourselves in this smaller chamber. Ismark, Irina, and Davian bringing up the rear and just kind of huddling up to the far side. Davian shooting baleful glances and glares at the closed doorways.
All right. So north was where, Casimir, where you saw the flame skulls, right?
Casimir nods. If we're gonna go that way, we'd best be prepared for what we might find there.
Well, I think it's our only choice. Else we go in the main room where you got barbecued.
In that case, I quite agree. Though we're looking at gouts of flame either way. Flame skulls favor the fireball spell. The uses of it may be more limited than I don't know what it is in that chamber. But be warned, we should avoid clumping up. We should spread apart. We have any preparatory magic? I can try to perhaps counter one of them, but I can only unravel so much magic.
All right. It seems like our best bet's to hit him by surprise.
When I looked in there the last time,
Sorry?
He waits for you. Nope, he's waiting for you to finish.
Okay, yeah. In that case, it might spread out and have me and the fireproof folks up first then.
I presume you mean me and Amity.
He nods.
Yep. All right, then.
In that case, do you want me to... I can bring up the very rear, looking over your shoulders.
Just
if
be
nothing
close
else, if I
enough to
see them
pull
when I
that
cast a
counter
spell, I
if you
can...
need it.
All right, I can manage that.
Thank you.
And
the rest of y'all get ready to storm. We want to focus fire if we can. We want to take one out before they can let off these spells.
Right.
Y'all ready?
Okay.
No.
Esmeralda nods and says, "All right, then. Let's get to it. How are you all aligning yourselves?"
Well, I guess.
I think Amity and Metreon, are they going up? Casimir nods, and there's something else that I might be willing to give a try, if one of you are up for it and want to take point to go mano a mano with one of these things. It's a... I'm not sure if you're familiar with the polymorph spell, but
I think we are.
it might help.
Metron turns to Kiva, kind of with a wink.
If any of you aren't interested in volunteering, I'd be more than glad to see to that we have a little bit of an extra asset, maybe someone that can fill the space between us and them, if nothing else.
Well, if we turn into one of them things, right? Well, like, me and Amity was real good around fire. You know, doesn't really hurt us the same way it hurts everybody else. Yeah, would it? You know, would we still have that, or would we just be like, you know, whatever you get turned into?
No, I'm afraid that would go not be entirely present any longer. I mean, is there any others among you that might be interested? Lillison, Esmeralda?
Lillison looks hopeful, and she says, "If there was a chance for me to become something less completely frail, I think I would be intrigued."
He gives you a nod and a grin. All right, then. In that case, let's all take up our positions. We'll get cooking with Lillison's new form's advantages, and we'll crack open that door. Everyone ready?
Let's go.
All right, and as you prepare yourselves to storm the corridor of the Flame Skulls, that is where we will end it for today.
Whew.
Guys, I should not be a frontliner.
But
Tweet
you're
it.
polymorphed. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I think we should have like a little Twitter poll and see what kind of animal we want Casimir to turn Lillison into.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
Casimir's already made up his mind.
I'm feeling T-Rex. I'm feeling
I want
the
big
dinosaur.
monkey gorilla Lillison personally.
I mean, they're both ideal.
Who said you would get either of these?
Giant crocodile Wilson?
Lillison turns into like a tiny bat.
An axe beak.
Squaha!
We shall find out. In any case, thank you all very much for hanging around and spending some time with us in the far off and not entirely welcoming land of Barovia. We will, as always, see you all back in the mists next week. Until then, try to avoid getting caught in too many fireballs, and take care.